stuff one shot at a time.
Welcome back to the Enjoy the Walk podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Ryder Cup week is over. If you're a USA fan, a US of A fan, great week. Absolute stellar week from the team. We'll dive into a Ryder Cup recap today, guys. So that's what's in store. We've also got an interview from Plus One Creative, alternate golf logos. If you follow them on Instagram, if you don't, go give them a follow. They help PGA pros create logos for whether it's alternate logos in their shop, member guest logos, or just something to spice up the norm so they can help their sales in pro shops and in guest events. We talked to Ryan Gabel, creator of Plus One Creative, and all the crazy cool things that he's been up to. And then we dive into our own kind of experiences over the last week or so. Dante, you had your member guest as well as a really cool event with your father. I went down to represent my half of what is Enjoy the Walk at East Lake with Boston Scott Golf for an incredible event they had there. So buckle in, guys. This is going to be a long one, but it's going to be a good one. So we got to start with the United States of America, the Ryder Cup, man. I know you said you got to watch bits and pieces here, but holy crap, man. One for the ages.
It really was. And I'll be honest, I was shocked because if you listen to our previous podcast in regards to who we think is going to win on paper, USA looked dominant. I mean, I just didn't think they were going to come out. Next thing I know, I'm sitting at work on a Friday and one of my coworkers comes in. He's like, "Why aren't you watching the Ryder Cup?" And I said, "Well, what's it look like I'm doing?" And he laughed. He goes, "Oh, Cantlay's up 5 up on the first 5 holes." And I said, "You're kidding me, right?" He goes, "No." And then right there and then I said, "I'm about to be shocked." I think my prediction of the Europeans just absolutely steamrolling. The United States got word and they decided to really prove me wrong. So, hats off to them. That was awesome to watch from what I watched and just kind of seeing the tidbits and the snippets from all the social media platforms. And it just seemed like it was one hell of a time for both teams.
We'll get into the course side of it in a little bit, but let's talk about just the players in general, right? If you listen to our previous podcast, kind of leading into the Ryder Cup, we did say we thought experience was going to favor the European team. Now, we both still picked the United States to win as prideful Americans. We didn't pull a Riggs and completely abandon this American team. And it came out early that the young guns, the quote unquote rookies, did not play like rookies. They never for 1 second looked like rookies. They never showed a kind of nervousness like rookies. The rookies almost outplayed and actually not almost, they did. The rookies did outplay most of the veterans on the European side of things all weekend long. And I think when you look at what turns the table of a win to a loss, that right there was 6 rookies and them all playing top-notch golf, like world-class golf. That was the most shocking thing. To have all 6 play that well was just incredible. Sometimes you get 3 or 4 rookies that really have a good, showing, and then maybe 1 or 2 are still finding their way. To have all 6 of our rookies like that just play incredible golf the entire weekend long, I think was maybe one of the biggest shocks to the world. Not a shock to those inside the ropes of the American team, but definitely a shock to the world.
Yeah, and the shock to the fact that they just came out played as if it was major championship level golf on a winning side of things. I mean, just the shots alone that they had to hit and the putts that they were dropping. I've never seen so many double breaking 20-footers get holed in the times of watching golf since on a competitive standpoint and following the PGA Tour since about 2015. And I'm sitting here watching even on the European side and the US of A guys just draining putts from all over the place, especially on a course like that, where, I mean, you got the wind whipping and, you got to account for that. You got to account for Lake Michigan and just the elevations and all this other stuff that comes with it. Just blew my mind of how great just alone their putting was. Not alone the shots that they were hitting from the tee and from the fairway. I mean, just on the greens.
Well, and the announcers drove it home almost too redundantly, but how quote unquote diabolical because of it being a Pete Dye course. It was diabolical, but those greens are no joke.
Favorite word for them. I heard that millions of times.
If you could have been playing a drinking game, diabolical.
Yes.
The friendship between Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas. I was shocked to hear for the 1,003rd time that they were buddies. Didn't know that all weekend long.
It was the DYE diabolical. They said that.
Yeah,
thousands of times.
Those two things, if you didn't know, you found out this weekend very often. But you're right that the greens are no joke. They're not easy. And these guys across the board, European side and American side, made a lot of like 20, 30, 40 footers. It was really insane. And if you look at one guy in particular who, if you thought was going to turn the tide of European kind of momentum, it was going to be Jon Rahm because of the putts he was making. That guy, for the first really morning, afternoon session of both Friday and Saturday, I don't think he missed a putt he looked at. He showed this weekend why he is the number one golfer in the world right now.
He definitely did. And I think what kind of that went off like a light bulb, I guess you can say. My realization of him being number one is, I think it was one of the holes, 15 or 16 on the back nine. And I forget which day, but Brooks hooks one into the junk downhill. And, they're like, all right, well, we really need to climb back. And he just hit this like buttercut fade, and it just dead center of the fairway. And I just said, and that's right there is why he's number one. Just like under that pressure, under the team pressure, and coming from behind. And at that point being like, our backs are truly up against the wall, and not being the favorite. You're not on, your soil. I'm going to just take one off the tee with wind coming from Lake Michigan, and I'm just going to stick one. I mean, I think it pretty much just sat dead center in the fairway. I mean, you wouldn't talk about center cut. That's what he did. And that guy, just watch out for the 2022 season of Jon Rahm.
Dude, the way I'm telling playing, you what, the announcers made some great calls all weekend long, but one thing they said that stuck out to me, right, was every Ryder Cup, and I didn't really even ever think about it until they mentioned it, and then I took some time to look back on it too. Every Ryder Cup, guys use this as either a propellant, and it propels them into a 2022 season or a next year season in which they just break their shell, right? And they come out firing. And then sometimes if guys get just beaten down and broken at the Ryder Cup, sometimes it can kind of hurt them, and you really never hear from them again. It scares me how good of a Ryder Cup Jon Rahm had, because he's already number one in the world. And people were kind of tweeting, and I even realized this too. At number one in the world, Jon Rahm on like a world scale is still underrated. And hear me out here, because he hit so many good shots, like the one you were just kind of detailing earlier, that little baby cut fade. It never left his intended line. Every shot he looked at, even with the wind whipping, even with the, extenuating circumstances of the crowd not being in his favor, like that crowd was worse than any major championship he'll step into from a fanhood standpoint. No one wanted him to hit a good shot all weekend long. And to step up and perform the way he did, I'm a little excited and like worried for everyone else, because Jon Rahm could have an even more incredible year in 2022 than he did in 2021. And he had a great year in 2021. So I'm excited for the future for Jon Rahm.
Especially for some of the obstacles that he had to run through and kind of the adversity that he faced with the whole COVID issues and all that. And he came out and was about to win and didn't win, and came back and won a major championship. And, it kind of seemed like he was like playing really well. The next thing you know, like someone knocked him on his feet or knocked him on his back, and he got back up. And then it's kind of like the Chumbawamba song. He just,
I get knocked down, but I get over it. Ain't ever gonna get me down. I want to see
how many people actually realize that. That's a classic.
I love it. But man, it really is true. And I think, you look down the list of obviously guys that really played well. Someone who I think is also going to use this as a propellant. I could go down the entire USA list of players who just really showed out. Two in particular who I think really, really could use this to propel themselves. are kind of I would say, two vanilla guys that you talked about in our last podcast. They're just guys that have almost no personality all season long. And then they show up to an event like the Ryder Cup, our captain's picks, and then ball out. And, are one of the guys. They get involved. They get very animated when they're not animated for the rest of the season. And that's Harris English and Scotty Scheffler. Harris English might have been, maybe behind John Rahm, the best putter all weekend long. That dude made putts over 20, 30 feet like no one else did all weekend. It was really incredible. And it put his short game display up there as like a top 5, top 10 in the world. He was one of the players that I was shocked played so well in his first ever Ryder Cup.
That, I think it just brings out another level of talent and game that these guys don't realize that is in store. And then they get this opportunity to play in the Ryder Cup. And like you said, there may be more of a vanilla kind of person there. They just keep to themselves and they're not the loudest. And, they don't like to put their face forward and everything and, get their hands touching and everything. And they just kind of stay back and kind of keep to themselves. And one that impressed me is how much focus and energy that these guys put into it and how they just ended up basically showing that emotion that they don't normally do. And I think like it's another realization that these guys see in themselves. Are like, oh shit, like I have a fourth gear to me that I didn't even realize I had.
Yeah.
And that's something that's really kind of like any player, any golfer out there that really gets into a situation where, they get into this mindset. They're like, wow, I can, it's kind of like, I think you posted something the other day on your personal page about Kobe and his mindset, how he's playing against the one guy and he comes in, guy practiced for an hour. He came in and was practicing even longer because he knew his opponent was practicing this hard. He goes, I'm going to practice twice as hard.
I did. And for anyone who doesn't know that reference, again, I don't know who the player it is that was talking about it, but he showed up pregame and Kobe was already there, right?
Yep.
Well early. It was like a 7:30, 8 o'clock game. They were there at like 2 or 3 in the afternoon. Kobe's already there, kind of bouncing around the ball. This guy comes in, practices, and gets done with his pregame practice. And Kobe's still at it, like hours on end, basically straight up to the game. And after the game, after Kobe drops 40 points on him, this guy's like, I got to go ask Kobe, what the hell is he doing? And he's like, Kobe, why'd you stay in the gym? He's like, because I saw you come in.
Yep.
And I needed to send you a message. You might be better than me. You might think you have an edge on me, but you'll never outwork me.
Yep.
And I think this week too, when Stricker and the whole team fielded interviews after the weekend was over, they talked about preparation and how they got there 3 weeks beforehand and we're all playing practice rounds with each other. We're at that course basically every day. Like they just lived there. And I think another catalyst that you look at, if you look at reasons why this team played so well and won so heavy-handedly, they just came in and out-prepared the European team, I think. And you can do that on home soil. So I'm excited because I think a lot of these guys are going to be core guys going into Rome in 2 more years. I'm excited to see what their preparation style will look like when going to foreign soil, because they obviously had the upper hand to be able to do what they did in their home turf. So hopefully they can maybe replicate something of the same sort.
And I was going to bring this up to you too, because you have obviously followed golf a lot longer than I have. And, it always seemed from the past few years that I've been following golf, it always seemed that when the U.S. guys show up to their home soil, they dominate. And then as soon as they go to foreign soil, they get their asses chewed. They get destroyed. Now you kind of wonder, it seems like they kind of just pass the trophy back and forth to each other. Now you can correct me if I'm wrong, if Europeans have dominated on home or our home soil before, but taking kind of this mentality and this Kobe, like, we're going to show up and outwork you, right? Like, are they, and this is like that fourth gear that we're just talking about that they have. Like, I'm excited to see when they decide to go to the foreign soil and play, their away game, and they take that, mental preparation, and they're like, all right, we're going to go, instead of 3 weeks, we're going to go 5 weeks ahead of head of the event, and we're just going to just bust our ass. I'm excited to see what they can bring when they go into someone else's turf.
Well, so you mentioned, does it flip flop hands? Does it go back and forth? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Out of the last 10 Ryder Cups, the United States has only won 3, and that flip flops every time. So from 2002 to 2008, Europe took 4 straight, and then the United States won in 2008. I'm sorry, United States won in 2008, but the 4 years before that, Europe won 4 in a row, and they won on home soil at Valhalla in Kentucky.
Okay.
And then four more in a row, 2010, 12, 14. So I'm sorry, 3 in a row. Europe rattled off 3 straight. In Wales, in home, quote unquote, home soil at Medina. If everyone remembers Medina, the historical comeback that we just blew to lose by a point. I had to throw away my Medina merch. I just couldn't wear it anymore. I got one Ryder Cup shirt. It was from Medina, and I had to put it in the back of my closet because we just epically lost. And then they went back over to Scotland and won at Glen Eagles. And then the U.S. has won back-to-back home soil events, losing obviously last time in Paris overseas. So it'll be interesting. It's tough to go to the other side and win in hostile territory. The Europeans talked about it all weekend long. There was maybe 20 fans in the entire premises that wanted Europe to win. So it's tough. It really is a tall task to go on, competitor soil and go get a big win, just because I think the fan bias just plays such a massive picture in the whole grand scheme of things.
And that's another thing that I noticed too. And I think it really kind of comes down to the fans, and the event is based, in my opinion, around the fans. If the fans aren't there, it is what it is. They're just going out playing a team event. But with the fans being there and how involved the fans have been getting in the past few Ryder Cups is just showing that, it's just like any arena sport, especially think of college football. We can talk about your lovely Penn Staters when they had the whiteout game and they had over 110,000 people, and they just absolutely it was one hell of a game. It was constantly back and forth, from what I saw, and the score was high numbered, and it was just very energetic. And I think when you can get that energy from the fans, you remember, I remember playing, you just get fired up at these events. You just feel the adrenaline just running through you.
When you have Mr. Stoic himself, Patrick Cantlay, who shows no emotion all year long, fist pumping and getting the crowd jacked up, you're in a completely one-of-one setting. That's unlike anything else that golf possibly can offer. And I think, when we talk about that advantage, we have to dive into talking about Whistling Straits and the way the PGA of America set up this place, the views, let alone the fan side of things. The views of this place were just downright breathtaking. I don't remember it being this incredible. Maybe I've just got short-term memory loss, but when they had the PGA Championship there and Jason Day won, I don't remember it being that incredible. I just don't. Again, maybe I missed it. Maybe I just didn't see the coverage as much, but this place showed out for this Ryder Cup venue, unlike any other event I've ever seen, to be honest with you.
And especially kind of the way the course is set up. It's spread throughout kind of the cliffs from, off of Lake Michigan. So there's probably spots on the course that you can't even, a fan can't even get to. You know what I mean?
So some of the best videos were not only fans, but once the Ryder Cup was pretty much clinched and guys were just going around drinking and having fun and just being degenerates pretty much.
Yep.
Xander Schauffele, Brooks Koepka, a couple other guys too. They were literally sliding. They were dropping down like a baseball player and sliding down some of these ravines and cliffs all on the side of the course. It goes to show there was a million of those spots, just like there's 1,001 bunkers out there. There's 1,001 areas where you can't walk. You either have to get on your butt and slide down these hills or walk around. So I think that's the other part of Whistling Straits that made it so incredible, was that there was just these such drastic cliffs and these drastic drop-offs that like it created its own amphitheater, let alone the way they set up the stands.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at a picture on Google here, and there's all the fans where like the roped off section is, where they're as close to the hole that they possibly can. And it's probably maybe like 20, 30 feet uphill. And he's just towering over these people standing on top of this hill. And he's solo by himself with like an American flag suit jacket on, just like overseeing like eagle eye everybody. And it just, it right there just shows kind of how crazy this course is. And it seems like they probably have put more grandstands up for the fans just to give it that more arena like feel, because it is a team sport. And I think that's what helped a lot. I mean, just having like all those people just stuffed there and just surrounding like the players off the tee. And, you know, this is something these guys don't normally get on a daily basis.
If you're watching on YouTube, I'm going to add a photo in here of what, just like the grand scale of some of these grandstands. As we continue to talk about the setup and everything, I'm kind of going to just overcast some incredible photos of just I would call it monstrosities that they built out on this course. Paul Azinger and Nick Faldo talked about it basically the entire telecast all weekend, of like in their wildest dreams, when they played in it, they couldn't imagine a setup like this, right? Like back when they played it in the 80s and the 90s, it was maybe 2 or 3 hospitality tents in the whole course. Now it's an entire like 40,000 person grandstand around the first tee and 4 hospitality tents down the first fairway. Like it's changed. The entire setup of a Ryder Cup has changed. And I think for the best. Like when you look at it from a viewership standpoint, it looks incredible on TV. When you look at it from a fanhood standpoint on, you know, at the venue, I can only imagine it's incredible from there as well. I got a glimpse of what the PGA of America does in a FedEx Cup setting at Kays Valley at BMW, and they set that place up incredible. You know, at stands everywhere, massive, just kind of towering viewing spots all over the course that just give you the best possibility to not just see one hole, but see multiple holes. And I think that's the cool thing that from what I can see and what they were talking about on TV, they were able to achieve too, is they gave these folks not only a view of one hole, they gave these folks a view of like 7 holes on Whistling Straits. And I think as you look at the course setup, that's kind of the other really cool thing. The course at Whistling Straits kind of loops itself back and forth along the river. So if you're going one way, you got to come back down the other. And I think it really offers the opportunity for people to see you multiple times from one location.
Yeah. And I think they're just starting to realize like how important the fans are in their viewership, like their viewing experiences at the event, that they're starting to get things together to where, and they're lining up, like you saying, how they're just being able to maneuver logistically these fans to get the best viewing experience that they can, while at the same time giving the players, again, that the fan base that they normally wouldn't see. I mean, with like these grandstands and all that and these like stadium-esque seating, you're not on a golf course, right? If you take that down, you can only stack so many people around the hole, right? This time you can double, even triple the size of that. It's getting more of that football and basketball arena, like where the fans are just, I don't know, 20 rows deep and just like on an incline where you can just see them all and everybody can get that view, and it just kind of just tunnels them in.
Well, right. And I think this is just the magic.
Focus.
This is the magic of Whistling Straits. And I think, which is why it's just a perfect venue for an event like the Ryder Cup. I'm going to post another picture here on YouTube, guys. So go check out our YouTube page, Enjoy the Walk Off Podcast. There's a picture of fans 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, pretty close to what you're saying, Dante, 20 rows deep, and they aren't even on the stands. This is just like a natural amphitheater. They're standing on the side of this like bluff, and it's just, they're 20, some even more probably back behind them deep, because you can see people holding up cameras, trying to get a picture behind them. It's the way I would like, if you had a dream setting, a scenario of how fans could embrace a Ryder Cup and just stack in and create the atmosphere for these players, Whistling Straits was it.
Definitely. And I think, again, hats off to them, especially with like kind of the last couple of years that we've had, and year and a half, however you want to say it. And it just kind of was just a big kind of relief and enjoyment. And to me, that's what I loved about this whole experience with both teams and the fans and all that, is how big of a camaraderie that this Ryder Cup kind of brought for everybody, from fans to coaches to even players. It
Yeah,
just was
when they
something
talked
else.
about it, right? Like when they continued to talk back and forth between players and just talking about family. Like the word family kept getting brought up, not by the like cast of the anchors, but by the actual players and captains and co-captains themselves. They said, man, we've never felt closer in the team room than what we do this year. And I think it showed. It showed because, you know, we talked because we didn't know this dynamic going into the Ryder Cup. We talked about it in our preview show about we really didn't know who was going to pair up with who other than a couple people. And I think I was unaware of how close Scotty Scheffler and Bryson DeChambeau were. So that worked out to be just a perfect pairing. And they talked about it too. And Stricker talked about Azinger's old mentality in which he implemented, which was like the quote unquote pod system. You get 4 guys, and within their 4-guy grouping, you can pair them up with whoever you want to do. And I think they used that to perfection. And I think even outside of those pods, they could have paired anyone up on this team with anybody in the US side of things. And it's a shock to us, I think, because we thought that was going to be the scenario for the European team going in.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things from that too. I mean, look at the foes becoming friends. I mean, after seeing the camaraderie and just the togetherness that these guys had, and how they were just like, yo, I got your back. Like, don't worry. Like, you got mine. Like, we're in it together. Is after seeing that and kind of seeing some, the DeChambeau and, Brooks kind of debacle that has led up to this. It seems like they made amends, and it probably would have been sick if they actually paired together in one of the events throughout the weekend.
I'll tell you, obviously everyone by now has seen the viral video of them hugging it out on the course. Brooks going up to Bryson and saying, yo, way to go get a point, dog. Like way to be a fighter. Thanks. Proud of you for fighting for the team. I think after that, people started to realize, like, it was kind of like Brooks was saying, man, the media had just spun some things that he said into a really, really bad spot. And maybe it was never as bad as what the media portrayed it out to be. And that's, as fans, unfortunately, what we get to see. That's all we get to know, because these guys don't want to deal with it. They don't have time to deal with it because they're focused on going and winning championships, especially during the FedEx Cup race and whatnot. So I was pumped to see it, man. Just seeing Bryson in general, I think, win fans over in droves this week was the most incredible part of it. He obviously a controversial figure. I don't think I don't heard one Brooksy out there this week. All I heard was fans taunting him to hit the driver and just absolutely like bowing down to Mr. DeChambeau every time he hit the driver.
That one, I guess, I don't know what hole it was, and he pulled 3-wood or hybrid or something like that. And they're like, boo, what are you doing? What are you doing? He goes, guys, like, I'm still going for the green.
And it was like 315 and driver was way too much club. So he pulls the 3-wood.
He pulls the 3-wood. They all got upset, and he's like, I'm going for it, guys. Like, don't worry. And they're just like, yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah, the fans definitely love the long ball. Obviously, him teaming up with Scotty Scheffler and hitting that one on number 5, 417, and having 70 yards into a par 5. They had to move like thousands of fans out of the way for him to hit that tee shot on 5.
I mean, just like alone, like obviously he's done it multiple times at home and does it on the TrackMan and just constantly practices basically like long drive swing. For him to just do that in the Ryder Cup with kind of the way the hole is shaped and probably what his landing area was, and with the wind and all the fans surrounding him, to be able to just pull off that rope of a shot, it's pretty remarkable. Because I always question how the PGA puts their stats out, because I always feel like they fudge the numbers, or they're like, oh yeah, it was 417 yards, which is, don't get me wrong, very impressive, but they never really account, like, was it severely downhill? How much roll did it get? And downwind, like this and that. And it seemed like really all he had was just downwind, right?
I think it's all it was. It really was, because Whistling Straits was not playing that like firm and fast.
No.
It just wasn't that style of golf course. So he hit it every bit of that like 405, and I think he might have got 10 yards of roll out of it. That's even being generous. I mean, he murdered it. And now, don't get me wrong. His long drives and showmanship were also followed with a lot of erraticness and like kind of scrambling and whatnot. But if it's anything Bryson DeChambeau showed us since he won the U.S. Open at probably one of the longest rough golf courses this past couple years, he can scramble out of thick rough. He's got the short game. He's got the putting to do so. He was electric. He was the needle at the U.S. side alongside Justin Thomas, who everyone knew was going to be the needle because everyone loves watching him play. I'd say Thomas, if not Bryson, are kind of like sharing that quote unquote Captain America cape after this week.
I would think so. Out of all those guys, if you needed someone to kind of rally the troops and rally up the team to get them fired up, get the juices going, those two are definitely. I know JT likes to show a bit of emotion when he gets pumped up. We've seen it in President's Cup. We've seen it in Ryder's Cups. We've seen it just for the sake of him just holding out a shot. And, DeChambeau, easy when you got the entire, like 50 people behind you on the tee telling you the rip driver. He's going to do it. So now I'll agree with you on that one. They definitely were kind of the co-captain-esque for, I guess you can say just team spirit.
For sure. And one thing that was brought up on telecast, which people always forget, I feel like DeChambeau is now a U.S. amateur winner, a U.S. Open winner, and now a winning member on a U.S. Ryder Cup team. You'll be hard pressed to find anyone with that resume that really kind of bleeds so much red, white, and blue. He talked about it when he won the U.S. Open, that the USGA events in general were like probably nearest and dearest to his heart after winning the USAM and then winning the U.S. Open. So to add this kind of next tick mark on a U.S. venue event, I think he's got to be one of the top, if not the top guys in the world that bleeds red, white, and blue right now. Just resume alone.
Oh, definitely. No doubt in my mind right there.
So, yeah, man, I mean, it's just, there's so much fun. There's so many great things that we could talk about or dive into. I think that the crazy thing was, and we saw it Friday. They switched up the pairings from session 1 to session 2. And then they came out and kind of switched up the pairings again on session 1 for the United States in the morning. I was a little surprised to see, I guess, them not go back to the Cantlay-Schauffele pairing, like back to back, because they were such a buzzsaw in that first pairing in like right off the bat. But one thing I am prideful for, a lot of those pairings that went out in the first 2 groupings, we nailed like right on the head. We got the Texas guys. We got the Spaniards playing together.
Yep.
We got the Irishmen playing together. We got US mostly right. We did not see the Scheffler. We did not see the Scheffler-DeChambeau pairing. That was kind of out of right field for us. But other than that, I was happy to see us have a pretty good beat on what was going to go on those first couple matches.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like Stricker put a good pairings out for that, like that ham and egg mentality. And obviously that's what you need. Because I mean, you and I both know when we play, 2-man events and we both not ham and egg it on the same hole, it becomes a disaster real quick.
Yeah, and I think if you look at like what happened to the Ryder Cup from a European standpoint, there was just no ham and egg. The only guys to ham and egg it were Sergio and Rahm all week long.
Definitely.
I mean, it's unfortunate, but you had guys like Lee Westwood just struggle with Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick didn't even play the greatest. Tyrrell Hatton kind of had glimpses when he was playing with Shane Lowry. They ended up getting a half of a point off of a nice day-ending birdie from Tyrrell Hatton, but it seemed like whenever they needed to step up on the European side of things, guys just could not kind of lean on each other. There was no one to lean on other than Jon Rahm. He was the obvious horse, And other than that, there was not too many bright spots, bright glimpses to get a lot of momentum headed in their direction.
No. And then, you know, coming off the first day when it's like that big of a lead too, you're like, oh shit. It's tough. It really is tough. And they did the best they can to just come back. I just think with the fans, the venue, and, you know, the U.S. team of how they just put themselves together, it was just a one-way train for the United States. I mean, obviously, I like seeing battles. I like seeing back and forth. You know, that's what makes great, you know, sports, whether it's golf, football, basketball, baseball, or whatever. But obviously, at the same time, when you're trying to win, like, I want to make sure I'm going to dominate you guys and know, like, when I'm crossing the finish line, I'm well ahead of you.
Yeah, and it was just like, even in singles, there was so much red on the board early. I mean, you looked at 3 or 4 holes in to the point everyone got past like the 4th hole. It was 8, 9 matches US and maybe 2 on the European side of things. That thorn on our side, freaking Ian Poulter, he might continue just to play singles matches until he's like 65, 70. The dude can't lose a singles match. It's incredible.
I've been a big fan of him. I know a lot of people like dislike him because of Ian Poulter and his experiences and at the Ryder Cup. But ever since I saw him at the 2018 BMW Championship at Aronimink, I've been a fan ever since.
Now he put a whooping on a guy who was pretty hot all week long. Tony Finau in a couple of his sessions made over 8 birdies in multiple sessions. So if there was a guy to go down and take down probably one of the most prolific singles players in Ryder Cup history, I thought Tony Finau was going to do it. But you mentioned you've been a fan of Poulter. Tell me the story. Tell the listeners that story, because I love it. I've heard it before, but I think it's just an all-time great reaction from an all-time great Ryder Cup player.
So it was the Saturday round. You know, we get to Aronimink and we decide to kind of like, the way they put everybody in was more towards the 18th hole. So the first 2, 3, 4 holes was that technically all the way in the back from the fans entrance, right? So the 4th hole was like the furthest hole all the way back. And I was like, I'm just going to walk like as far back as I possibly can to get away from all the people, because everybody kind of just goes right towards the holes that's closest to them. So we walk all the way down and we're standing by the tee box and we're pretty much up against the rope. Here comes Ian Poulter, Dustin Johnson, and Kevin Kisner. Now at this time too, like, college football's coming back on, you know, and Kiz is a huge college football guy, loves his Bulldogs, right? So I'm like sitting there and I'm like looking over and I'm like, okay. He's got his cell phone out. He's watching the game while like Ian, they all hit and Ian's getting up to tee the ball and for his turn. And like, I thought it was just funny because like, no, you know, Kiz being Kiz, he's like, yo, football's on. I'm trying to watch this. Like, why am I out here playing in a playoff event? And then, you know, everybody not liking Poulter. He's, you know, in our area. Some fan decides to chirp at him, says, hey, Ian, I hope you shank it. And like, one, that was a stupid remark because we were clearly in the fire. Like, we were in, you know, we were the targets if he were to shank it.
You were downrange. Yeah.
Pretty much. Downrange. Yeah. That's the word I was thinking of. So we all go, whoa, like, dude, like, yo, like, what, like, why? Like, everybody got mad at him. Like, all the fans that was like around them, like, that's not, like, first of all, you don't wish shanks upon anybody. Like, I don't care who you dislike as a golfer or whatnot. You do not wish the shanks on them at all.
The S word sends shivers down any golfer's spine.
Anybody. You don't do that. You want to chirp them in any other way because you dislike them and you're not a fan of them. That's fine, but you do not wish him the shanks. So he puts the tee peg in with the ball and he's like steps back and kind of like shakes his head and kind of like takes a little bit of a moment. And under his breath, which anybody just around us would have heard, he tells the kid, he goes, I bet you wish your dick was as big as your mouth. Excuse my profanity. And I'm like, jaws dropping, and everybody's just like, oh, like cheering him on, like, oh, like this kid just got shut down, like totally like embarrassed the kid, right? And he proceeds that like he's got this Ian Poulter's got this smirk on his face.
He knows he just clowned this kid.
Yeah, he clowned his kid, and then we're all like cheering for him, and DJ and Kiz is in the back, and Kiz is watching football, so he looks up, and they're just like, "No, he did it," right? Because it was just loud enough for everybody to hear, and he just proceeds to just pipe it like 320 down like the middle of the fairway, and he's just like, and they all just continue on, So he's got the Ian Poulter chest out, right, and he goes to pick up the tee, and as he's picking up the tee, he's one finger is just still open, and obviously, read between the lines, and he just continued about his day. And oh man, it was awesome. And I've been a fan of him ever since, because, he's very like witty, like he's very quick and on his feet. And it's just like, and we'll get into this, like how much I love the Ryder Cup and like kind of like the after party, like we saw some of the videos, but it's just, he was so witty, and we saw him coming up a different hole, and my buddy's like, "Yo, nice comment back there on 4." And he just smirked and kept going. And he's just like, "Yeah," like he's just like, "Yeah, I know." And it was just, ever since that, I've been a fan. And people are like, "Oh, I hate Poulter," and I'm like, "No, I'm a fan of that guy."
Yeah,
and I'll tell you
no, actually, he's got an all-time chirp game, and I love him for it.
It was awesome. And it's just,
he's always been one of those guys that's just been known to kind of be the life of the party, be the funny guy in the rooms, in settings where like someone needed to break the ice. It's going to be Poulter to just kind of make the guys feel at ease. So I love that story. It's one of those things where at this point it's becoming like Tom Brady-esque, where it's like people are going to hate him just because he's had so much success, but you got to tip the cap and say, dude, you really didn't have all that great of a Ryder Cup. And then all of a sudden you come out Saturday afternoon, you get some points on the board, and then you go out and absolutely take down probably one of the hotter guys all week in Tony Finau. It's great stuff to see, man.
It's awesome to see. And at the end of the day, the Ryder Cup's just special. Like I've gotten kind of a new light on it. At first I was like, "Hey, what is it? It is what it is," kind of thing. Like, this is cool, they're playing, but after just kind of seeing like the stuff on social media about them kind of getting together, and some of like the Europeans like crying, like they're like, "Wow, I really let my team down." Like, it really goes to show how much pride these guys go into taking it. But at the end of the day, they're all boys. The camaraderie's there. They're all family, whether you're European or you're, part of the United States, and they're out drinking with each other, just enjoying it. Because I think that's kind of like what it is. It's almost like when it's that time of the year, it's like one big celebration for like the end of the season. And it's just like, we're just going to get like the 24 best guys, and we're just going to have, a hell of a time.
Yeah. And I think
that's what they did.
You saw it. Rory was partying with the guys after the round. And we had a text conversation earlier today, which I thought put a lot of light on like these relationships, right? Like, it's not the Azinger Faldo relationship. It's not the Seve and whatever American he was playing at that time, Gary Player, Arnold Palmer. It's different, man. We live in such a connected society now that a lot of these guys that play for Europe live in the United States. They live in Jupiter, or they have great relationships with these guys. They got a second house in the United States. So, I mean, I know guys like Hovland, he went to school at Oklahoma State. So he's got really big ties. He's really close, from what I understand, with Morikawa. Those guys are like buddies because they went to college at the same time together, played against each other. As we saw, Rory's very close with the US guys, just because I think he's got the place in Jupiter and he just plays on the PGA Tour all the time. But B, if you think about too, his kind of behind the scenes roles, he's the players like coordinator on the PGA Tour. He represents the players at a bigger level. I think the players trust him to be the voice of the game. And that's why Rory was there. I think, he, even if he wasn't so close to those guys, to be the voice of the game, you saw it in the interview that he had after his round wrapped up. He didn't even get to start talking, and he was in tears about how much the Ryder Cup meant to him and how special of a place that this event has in golf as a whole. Anytime Rory opens his mouth, it's about the greater good of golf. It's not about him. It's not about his stats. It's about the greater good of golf. And I think if we learn one thing from the entire weekend, it's be a little bit more like Rory McIlroy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just like you said right there, I mean, everything that he does and he talks about is for like the game of golf, right? It's for bettering the game in the future for the kids and even for himself and those up and coming. I mean, it's like it's the saying. What's the saying where when you leave somewhere, you make it better than what you found it.
Mm-hmm.
And that I feel like that's just like his motto when it comes to just golf in general.
It really is. And I think when he talked too of just like, you know, he hopes he can play it again. It's just, I don't understand. It's going to be weird one day because it'll come just like it came for Lee Westwood this year. It'll come where it's probably going to be his last Ryder Cup. Lee talked about it. He was 4 down or 2 down with 4 to play, and he wins 3 out of the last 4. And they talked to him after the Ryder Cup was over in the team presser about how special it was for him. And he's like, listen, I had my son on the back. He's like, you don't think I understood that I'm 49 years old. I know that my time's up. If you thought I was leaving here without winning my singles match, you're crazy. Yeah. It's so cool, man, to see these guys that, I mean, the European side had it all week long. You saw Sergio pass the all-time wins record for most points won in a Ryder Cup. We were watching history in the making on the European side of things, even though they lost. Westwood played in 4 different decades of a Ryder Cup. So did Paul Casey. So did Sergio. I mean, yeah, they didn't win, but historically speaking, we saw so many incredible, possibly last time scenarios for the European side of things. You got to kind of soak in that side of things for them as well, because it was really awesome to watch, because you could tell those guys, everyone was in tears. You know how much it means to these guys.
Yeah, they kind of almost know that as a team, they're going to be almost in a rebuilding year, I guess you can say. Like, that's the best way to kind of compare it. And it's like they're rebuilding. They know that they're going to see a lot more new faces when it comes to the next Ryder Cup.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. If they end up replacing Garcia, if they end up replacing Casey and Poulter and Westwood. Tyrrell Hatton was kind of all weekend long. I know he got a half point when he needed to, but you know, he kind of got clubbed by Justin Thomas, which I think everyone did all weekend long. So you're looking at 5 guys that just like, they're going to have to replace, maybe even 6. And I mean, don't get me wrong, the United States did that this year. We had 6 rookies. So in 2 years, a lot can happen. I'm excited to see who some fresh faces on the European side will be. It was kind of crazy to me too, to step back and look at the captains on the European side. They had greats like Martin Keimer and Henrik Stenson. And obviously Padraig Harrington is their main captain. Like, you're looking at a lot of these other guys just from the captain side of things that, like, man, when I was a kid and even in high school and college, those were like the greats. Those were the unbeatens, right? Like, they were the stoic legends of the European side. So it's kind of crazy to think that, like, we're getting to a point where they're getting timed out. Father Time doesn't stop for anybody. And it's wild to see this kind of change of the guard. US just got to it first. We've got an incredible young core that's going to be interesting to see how the European side tries to match and or beat what's going on on the US side, because it's incredible right now.
Yeah, a lot of changes happening fast. To some, it's like, I can't believe it, but to some, like you're saying, it's going to be interesting to see. And obviously they're going to fill those roles pretty quickly. So it's just a matter of who, and kind of like really with the next few years, a matter of kind of like when. But, you know, especially with the guys coming up from, you know, the Corn Ferry tours and all that, and all like there's even playing on like the European tours and all their developmental tours. I mean, anything can happen at this point with the game.
Yeah, it is. It's so true. I mean, if you look at it too, this is a crazy stat, and I think we'll end on like the team talk on this. The last Ryder Cup, both Colin Morikawa and Victor Hovland were still in college.
Yeah.
And then in the last 2 years, Colin Morikawa has won 2 major championships and become the number 3 player in the world. And Victor Hovland's not that far behind him. So if you look at how fast it can happen, there's a lot that can change between this Ryder Cup and the next.
Just how good these guys are and how good they're getting. It's just, that's insane.
Yeah, that was a stat that like blew my mind. I'm like, you think about it, right? That's not that long. And obviously we had the extra year with COVID and whatnot to kind of build resume and whatnot. But it's crazy, man. Anything can happen. You know, guys that you thought were gone can put themselves back in the picture and vice versa. Brand new names, brand new faces could put themselves on the map and become heroes in 2 years.
Yes, sir.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm pumped to not only I think already anticipate what's going to go on at Rome because we have to. We had so much success, a record-setting performance by the USA. You can't do anything but look forward, I think, to Rome and what's in store for the next Ryder Cup.
I mean, just Rome itself. That sounds insane. That's gonna be awesome. Like I can't wait. Like this is, I guess you could say, my opening eye for the Ryder Cup, and like just kind of just getting my hands into it. So
I will say this. I'm low key excited because it's going to be in Rome to pour late night and early morning cups of coffee. And there's something special. And I think we'll do this as a podcast because we're in that space now. But like when I was in college and the last Ryder Cup was in Europe, we had the whole golf team get up stupid early or stupid late or whatever it was, wherever it was, and have a party. Basically, we 3 a.m, get up, steaks and eggs and coffee and watch the Ryder Cup. I think it's one of those special events where if you can get a group together and have a good time, it just makes it ever that much more fun as a fan that's going to be watching it, probably stateside as those guys go out to Rome.
maybe, never know.
Maybe we'll be in Rome. Who knows? When
Sweet.
in Rome.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, that's it from our Ryder Cup talk. As we get into our interview with Ryan Gabel here, just a couple shout outs to what we're working on currently. You can go to www.enjoythewalkpod.com to check out all the latest from us, the latest merch drops, the latest blogs, and some stuff about Single Strap Society as well. So we've kind of kept that under the radar, but we still have a little bit of merch from Single Strap Society as well. So if you guys want to go check that out, go to www.enjoythewalkpod.com. Before we get into the episode as well, Dante, I want to talk a little bit about Palm Springs Golf Championship. We are zoning in on the end of our season, unfortunately, here in the East Coast. It got chilly beyond belief this past weekend, got down into the 50s. I know that might not be chilly for some of you up north, but it's chilly for us, okay? And what better way to break a little bit of the winter rust off, maybe the snow by then head out to Palm Springs, California, January 9th through the 12th. Dante, you missed it last year, but you're all geared up and ready to rock and roll for it this year. They have gross and net events to get into out there, guys. So go check it out, www.fungolfvacations.com. Dante, what are you most excited about when you're thinking about the Palm Springs Golf Championship?
I think it's just going to be mainly like the camaraderie with like a tournament setting. And I honestly have to part like the freaking views that I saw from you sending me pictures and the video snippets that you got. I mean, holy smokes. It's just, that's not something too often where you're just going to be within the country where you're like, you know what? I'm just going to kind of go to like this majestic desert and just see like these mountainous peaks and it being like 80 degrees and like just perfect weather wherever you go. I think kind of like that one picture where you were standing out in front of like the cottage and you're like, yeah, check this out. And you like turn the camera and like, it was just like nice grass and water, the sun, the way like the sun kind of just glistens off of the mountains and some of the water that's out there that you're shocked is out there. You're like, that's just breathtaking.
It is, man. It's one of those places where you got to see it to believe it. Pictures don't do it justice. Those pictures I sent you, I was sitting out there with a cup of coffee, just like in awe of like this place exists, right? Like I'm not like a figment of my imagination. Like I'm living it. I'm there. It really is. It's breathtaking. Guys, this Palm Springs Golf Championship is on the same course that the American Express Championship will be on, where the pros will play a week after you get to play it. So you're playing it in PGA Tour conditions a week before the pros get to play it at PGA West Stadium course and PGA West Nicholas course. So like we said, go check it out. Join us out there. We'll be doing a lot of live froms out there. We'll be mucking it up with a full field this year. So 60 in the gross division, 125 in the net division. You're going to want to play. You're going to want to check it out. Be ready to play a lot of golf. There's not just your tournament rounds. If you want to play some afternoon skins games, if you want to play some afternoon horse races, you can. I advise you do. It's the best part about it. I'm not going to lie. I love tournament golf, but the camaraderie of just getting a random partner in the afternoon from halfway across the nation and playing with them and being buddies with them by the end of the day is the best part about this game and the best part about the Palm Springs Golf Championship.
Yeah, I think that one tournament that you played afterwards, the little like 2-man scramble or whatever skins game in that course was insane. That course looked so good. It was just unique because it seemed like it was desert mountains.
It was literally cut into the mountains.
Yes.
The last, like the entirety of the course, really, other than like 3 or 4 holes that kind of like wrap back in towards the clubhouse, were on the mountains. Like you had to carry your drives over some of these mountains or around them. And if you didn't, you were in like the cactuses and, all kinds of good stuff. So it's one of those places that's just, if you've never been there, you've got to go experience it. So come out, join us, join Enjoy the Walk podcast, join Fun Golf Vacations at www.fungolfvacations.com. All right, guys, that's it from our little plug. We're going to get into our interview here with Ryan Gabel from Plus One Creative, alternate golf logos. Hope you guys enjoy. Welcome back to the Enjoy the Walk podcast, ladies and gentlemen. If you've had a second to take a look around your pro shop, whether it's the logo on the shirts, the logos on the walls, or the logo outside when you step into the shop, you might see that it's outdated. We're happy to bring on a guy who's trying to change that vibe, whether it's inside your pro shop or alternative logos. Plus One Golf Creative or Plus One Creative out of the Hudson Valley, New York area. If you've seen anything we've shared on our stories or on our pages, we've tried to reshare a lot of the cool vibes that Ryan's been bringing to the table. So happy to have Ryan Gabel on the show. Ryan, you are doing a lot of incredibly cool things to change the vibe of golf courses around the country. Happy to have you on the show, man. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me. This is cool.
Yeah, pumped to see how it got going for you. I know it seems like you've been just churning and burning all these incredibly cool logos. So I'm pumped to see how you got into it. When we talk golf course logos, first and foremost, what do you see and why did this kind of capture your attention as something that needed to be addressed?
Well, during COVID, I would say more than any other industry on earth, I mean, other than maybe Zoom that we're on right now, golf got an incredible, Tiger Woods type boom. So, we saw so many more people, flooding into the game. And, I got a lot of friends that are in the PGA system and, I asked him, I was like, man, you got to be making money hand over fist. He goes, well, the golf course is, I'm not. So, I come from a part of the country that has, a lot of alternative logos and, good or bad. I think, the Northeast might be 20 years ahead of everybody else on a creativity scale. And I think that, I could bring something to them that they could at least monetize the extra eyeballs in the game. Plus, there's a lot of people that are around our age that are, that have different tastes than our mom and dad. So, I wanted to try to put my own spin on each course and get something, put a little extra money in the pro's pocket and then, make sure I go home with a hat that I like.
That's funny, man. It's something that's been trending on your stories lately, and I love it, has been the fight against Times New Roman, I guess you could call it. And I love it because you never realize how many golf courses have this just bold letter, and that's their style, right? Dante, you and I have been to enough golf courses to kind of recognize this status quo, I guess you could call it, of golf course numeral logos or big letter logos.
Yeah. And then, you can say that. And it's just like one thing I wanted to point out here is if you just go to your page, I think it's just so sick because it's all just white. If you just look at it, like not picture by picture if you just look at it as a whole. It's just a giant white backdrop, and then it's just your like updated created logos. And one thing I've always noticed, and I'm a big fan of it too, is if you look at guys who play constant golf, who are avid golfers like the three of us that play competitively, that bebop around to course, and you match, and then you're looking at their logo. It's like anytime you see a guy who can play, usually who plays a lot of different places, they got head covers with logos on it, knitted head covers, putter covers. It's not necessarily like the polo anymore. It's the hats, it's the belts, and it's the gear on the clubs. And I just thought it was just like, it's so unique and kind of intuitive, but so simplistic when you look at your page.
Yeah, I mean, it's meant to be like that. I started doing white backgrounds in the beginning, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to change up the aesthetic. And then because I've seen other designers, it gets the right background and it complements the thing. I'm like, you know what? People got to see these things on a white imperial hat. They got to envision that, and that's what they got to see. And I wanted it to kind of, speak for itself and realize that, hey, these things actually have to be stitched. So, my original sketches for a lot of these are incredible, but then I got to, go on the computer and dumb it down. And it's just pivoting off of what you said, you got letters everywhere.
Now you say sketches, right? So when you go through this process of looking at like all these logos, these just Stone Age logos, and you're like, you know what, I'm going to tune it up. I'm going to touch it up. I'm going to make it pop, but I'm going to make it, keep it simple with it. And you say sketches. Now, like me being like the retired artist that I used to be in high school, nothing crazy, but is it something you take like on pencil and paper and then you transform into on the computer, or is it like, how's like your thought process and like your design come up with?
Yeah. So I do pencil and paper. I actually try to throw it out afterwards, just so I don't have to look at something that I really like and then something I created on a computer. So I try to, go all in on that one design. But yeah, I do pencil and paper, and honestly, it's probably why I'm not a better golfer. I mean, I'm playing tournament golf, and I'm sketching things on the golf course on my yardage book. It looks ridiculous, and I would say it's why I'm +1 creative instead of +3 creative.
I love that. I love that. I gotta, sometime for another date and time, I gotta take a look at some of these yardage books. They've got to look like either incredible sketch work or just like third grade doodles. I don't know which one might come first.
It reminds me of kind of like Eminem's story, where he just had like these little like mini yellow Lego pads, and anytime he came up with kind of a rhyme scheme, he would just open it up and just sketch it real quick and keep it on the same page. Is that like the same way that your yardage books looks like? It's just instead of sketches of rhymes, it's just sketches of just logos like all over like the map of just the one hole.
Oh, I mean, it's a little bit of everything. I mean, sometimes I'm on the 9th hole of a USAM qualifier this year, and the flag is cut 8 off the left, but I got a breathtaking drawing of a birdhouse that I saw down the right rough line. I think I 3-putted too. So like, I was obviously distracted, but I saw, the need to do it. And actually I think we're pretty much finalizing the deal. I think we're good, almost good to go on that one, because it's a design that people have liked online. And you guys know, I put out these polls. I want to get a really good cross section of people. So it's a lot of logo buffs. It's a lot of PGA guys. It's a lot of guys that have, real skin in the game. So it's not a bunch of my buddies that are doing the polls. And frankly, this is the first time I've ever shown my face doing this. So I'm excited to actually come out of the shadows. And
love it.
I had a little bit of a career transition, so I'm doing this full time now, which is really exciting but utterly terrifying. But I think
you hit
it's
on
golf. I can handle it.
You hit on some really incredible points there, which I want to kind of break down a couple of them. you mentioned there's a lot of guys that follow you and obviously interact with you and you're doing logos for that have skin in the game. And I think that's why we really love what you're doing too, is you're not just putting logos out there and saying, hey, here's a cool hat, go to my website and buy it, right? You're helping PGA professionals improve their shop. You're helping country clubs who maybe just are stuck in the late 1990s update some things, renovate, and bring maybe a new membership. Because I know, especially at my course, we saw, like you said, the COVID boom, where we saw incredible amounts of, we're almost to the point now where we've got 2 courses where I'm at, and they're thinking of turning the one member only course that used to be members only and was public for a while. They're thinking about turning it back to members only because we have such a big membership base. And it goes to play off of, well, the new members, the late 20s, early 30s, even, low 40s, they're kind of sick of the old ho-hum logos. And the minute you show some pop or some color in a new logo with a little bit of animation, people jump all over it and they can't keep it on the shelf. So, you're based in the Hudson Valley area. Has most of your work been in this kind of eastern region so far since you've gotten started?
So one of my early logos I did for a course called Thorny Lee, just outside of Boston. And I did one of my favorite designs. I did a set of boxing gloves. Just a little backstory. Brockton, Massachusetts is one of the proudest cities in the country, especially sports cities, called the City of Champions. Rocky Marciano's from there, and the lineage is just great. And they introduced it, I would say their member guest week this year. And it's something unique. It's something that, isn't done all over the place. It's not a bald eagle. It's not a hawk. It's something that screams Thorny Lee at you. So, there's some science behind it too, with the younger players in there. I would say people in the 27 to 40 range, they have different tastes from everybody else. This is actually their first real taste of exclusivity. A lot of guys, it's their first club. It's the first time they ponied up an initiation fee and have gone all in on a place. So, if you can introduce something that's exclusive and it's fun and it's unique, they're going to want to buy it. Also, I'm a big believer in, you cannot possibly double up on logos. You cannot be wearing the same one on a hat and a shirt at the same time. I think a couple of years back, I have a Shinnecock shirt I don't wear because I had a Shinnecock head cover. And then I was like, I don't want to look like the happiest guy to have ever played Shinnecock. So that's kind of part of the method to my madness. But I try to do something unique. I mean, there's a course up here in Connecticut, right near where I live, that a lot of logo buffs look at it. Stanwich Club in Greenwich, Connecticut is one of the best logos in the country. And I would say you could put it up there with Wingfoot and Burning Tree. It's probably as close to perfect as you can find. It's fun. It's unique. It doesn't have anything. It's nothing crazy, but Mike Suma, the head pro there, I mean, ask him how he's done off the logo. It's their old logo's a gaudy crest. It's still on their flag, and I think I still have I have a pullover that I've never put on with the crest from the Metropolitan Amateur back when I was a kid. So trust me, he's done pretty good off of it, and he knows the quality stuff to put it on, and it's done wonders for their course. I mean, it's turned Stanwich from a decently manicured golf course in Connecticut that's a pretty good layout to a national brand. So courses like that, you would think old, stuffy, New England, metropolitan. Oh, there's no way we could possibly change this. It's the old, stuffy clubs that are willing to, kind of sack up and take the chance at it. I mean, the guy, it was a cartoonist that did it. I would say 30 years ago. He did it on a napkin in the grill room, and I'm sure he got laughed out the door. And now it's the symbol of the golf course that everybody in the country knows. People who couldn't even picture a hole at Stanwich, they know what the logo of Stanwich is.
It's incredible what a change can do, right? Like, no matter if it's subtle or if it's completely upending what it looked like before, a change can, like you said, create a national brand, especially when you're looking at some of these courses that get a lot of play and even maybe don't have any outside play. Maybe they're just all, you know, exclusive. But let's take a step back from all of that and the courses and the logos and just talk about how you got here, right? You said you made a career change and obviously you're doing this full time. What did you come from and how in the heck did you get into creating such incredible, possibly national branded logos for these clubs?
Thank you. Well, let's see here. I was a insurance broker on the healthcare side. And I started, you know, kind of right during, pretty much during COVID. And I would say my industry kind of took a hit like it was the exact inverse of the suburban real estate market. It just, everybody stopped making, you know, medical decisions. And, you know, frankly, it probably wasn't a job that was tailored to me. I mean, it's long-term relationship building where, you know, I'm as a golfer, I'm naturally kind of introverted. I like just putting my headphones on and just doing my own thing. So that's kind of where I feel more comfortable. And it's just, you know, I'm 35. I don't have kids. I figured, why not? I might as well do something that, you know, I get up in the morning that I'm excited to do. It's like, gosh, what am I going to create later this day? And, you know, there's something to be said about, you know, doing something with your hands and, you know, finishing off something. It's the same when it takes me 3.5 hours to put together something from IKEA. It's like I accomplished something.
I tell you what, those IKEA furnitures are another day, another conversation. But what you're doing now, let's, you know, obviously the golf background that you had played a really big part in it as well. You're quite an accomplished player in your own right. Mentioned before we got on that you're right around the plus handicap area. So you've been playing for a while, I imagine, to get to even being playing that good. So you've been around the industry for a while, and having that relationship not only between, you know, fellow golfers that enjoy the game as much as you do, but PGA professionals too. Like, who was the first person when you said, hey, I want to do a logo, that you reached out to and that actually bit on the idea of you kind of transforming what they looked at?
Beverly Country Club near just outside of Chicago, Illinois, which I would say, I think they're in the top 200 courses in the country right now. It's one of the better tracks in the Midwest. I played there years ago, probably before they removed 80 million trees, which I heard it's better now. So they had these new flag sticks, and I was just doing it as a hobby. And then somebody asked me, "Hey, how much for that?" I was like, "I don't know. I don't know how much digital art costs, but I'll get back to you on it." But no, and you know what? That's a pretty high profile club to take a shot at me for my first logo. And then, you know, Thorny Lee happened. And then, you know, for some reason, every golf course in New England has reached out to me to at least do something as very little as a member logo. So, but from a couple minutes ago, use the C word, which I try to avoid on my page. I don't like the word change.
Gotcha.
So my logo, the reason it's +1, it was my handicap and I couldn't think of anything more creative, but it's +1. It's your logo +1. I'm not kicking out anything. I'm not like, we're not going to throw the other logo in the trash. This is still your primary logo, but don't be shocked if mine outsells yours by double. I'm just saying that you don't have to change the signage. That's why a lot of courses in the state of Florida are iffy about changing anything. And see, I use the C word. I don't like doing it. I call it a pro shop alternate. You don't have to, I mean, think about the undertaking a golf course in Florida would have to do to rebrand their, you know, everywhere you drive in, there's 7 points where you can go into the community. They have concrete pillars with the logo on it. I mean, it's $1 million change. For me to change something in the pro shop, it's not that hard to do. So I try to stay kind of in that realm where, listen, if it is one of these things that 20 years from now people keep buying, yeah, maybe change the sign out front, but let's just dip our toe in the water.
Well, and I always remember, like, the way you put it there, the +1. My first ever trip to Oak Hill Country Club, they had a members only section that was a completely different logo and a completely different vibe. You know, it was on different materials. It was on different things. You couldn't get those logos or things in the actual pro shop itself. And that always amazed me. And it was kind of something I always sought after. Is like, okay, well, if places have that, I can get my hands on it. Man, I really want that. It's like telling a kid that you're holding an ice cream cone in front of them and saying, you can't have that. You can have the dip of ice cream over there in the cup. It's like, no, I want the cone too. That kind of logo always amazed me. And it's really cool to, you go in with that mentality of not change, but just +1. Cause I think when you can tell a golf course, a pro shop, I'm just going to add to your repertoire. I'm going to add to the options you have. That can only speak good things. I think a full change, like you said, not only can be costly, but it can be kind of scary and saying, man, if we make the wrong decision and flip-flop it and it doesn't go our way, what are we in for? Then it's another, full change, quote unquote, that C word, back to something else. So it definitely, I can imagine, is scary for these, especially larger clubs, to dive into. When you see people reaching out via Instagram or whatever, is that the main focus of how you kind of go out and get work? Or I see you've been putting boots on the ground and getting on the road too. Like, how you've been able to kind of make yourself almost a household name for some of these clubs to reach out to you.
Yeah, it's been pretty wild. I would say I do a lot of, I have a marketing background from college, back at Binghamton University. So go Bearcats. But I have a marketing degree that I'm really starting to put to use for the first time ever. It's a little bit of a disruptive sort of marketing scheme that I'm doing. Sometimes most of the clubs that I've done logos for have reached out to me, and they reach out to me first, which as a former salesperson is odd to me because I'm used to kind of singing for my soup. But every so often I'll pick out a really, really bad one and just pick on them online. I mean, there are some golf courses in the Midwest that cutting out Florida as the worst area for logos in the country. I would say the Midwest should be ashamed of themselves. But there's a few logos that I pick on over and over and over again. But I still can't beat down the door for Butler National yet. I'm trying. They have a awful logo and they're a top 50 golf course, and they're not that old. And the only thing most people know about them is they got good greens and don't allow women. It's, that's about it. But like, I notice a lot of the golf courses around Chicago and Indiana, it's like they almost have a full sentence in their logo. Where, look at Winged Foot. They don't even have a year underneath it. You look at that, you look at that image, you know what it is. But, a lot of golf courses that are in that upper echelon, that top 20 in the country, a lot of people don't know. Even logo buffs are relatively uneducated. A lot of them are alternates. I mean, people look at the Maidstone logo. That's an alternate. Shinnecock is an alternate. Winged Foot's on their fifth variation. Marion even touched theirs up a couple of years back. Like MacArthur down in Florida, it's a milk jug. That's an alternate. Like, I would say I consider myself one of the golf nerds in the country. A lot of people couldn't name or couldn't picture that original logo at MacArthur. I mean, I know it just because I've been there a few times, but it's bad. It's heinous. It's a very Florida logo.
I think it's incredible the way you just named off like these different regionally based, completely across the map places that had either horrible logos and they're good now, or logos that are just top 20 golf courses in the country that And I think it speaks to not only the kind of golf nut you are, like you said, we're all three nerds here of just golf and golf knowledge, but it speaks to what I imagine is a lot of the research you've done and what makes a good logo and what golf courses are looking for to not only put on clothing, but to embroider, to put on hats. Because like you mentioned when we first started the podcast, these don't just have to be great drawings that look cool on paper. You've got to stitch them. How does that sometimes affect logos for the better or for the worse, depending on what direction you have to take them?
So I would say I kind of studied direct embroidery for a previous position. I was in the industrial uniforms where we had to, embroider, a logo on an emblem. I did pretty well at that because I have a knowledge of graphic design. I would re-engineer their logo for them and it would spit out great. Like, I know it's kind of, I know which elements I'm going to lose in direct embroidery, and I know which ones I'm going to gain. And sometimes I've done a touch up for my courses after the first run. I tell them, like, listen, don't order a ton of stuff. Let's roll it out really slowly, and let me see the first run of stuff, and we can pivot. I'll do it for free. And I think that's one thing that's kind of setting me aside, where I'm not banging people a few $100 for those next iterations. I want my best stuff out there, and especially, the better the course, the more I'm willing to do it. But yeah, I mean, these things have to be stitched. It's tough. I mean, there's different companies. I make different logos for courses I have different pieces of merchandise in mind. Like, I know I can get away with anything if I'm, putting a large stitch logo. Winston can kind of hit all the marks on their head covers. They're usually pretty good with stuff, and they can really kind of make it come to life. But you got to imagine, like, yeah, you can make the most beautiful Instagram drawing in the world. Some of my most, like, unliked photos on my page are probably some of the strongest, just because they're the easiest. Like, you gotta kind of try to toe the line of what's going to be super popular on Instagram and what's actually going to be stitched well. But yeah, I mean, you try to keep it down to a certain amount of colors, and that's including black and white. And you got to understand that you got a 1 inch by 1 inch box that a lot of these are going to go into. So you got to be careful with some of the intricate detail. I mean, I could make these beautiful pictures and have everybody gush over them, but at the end of the day, I want the pro to make some money and not have a headache.
Yeah, you're a realist. You're a realist. You
Yeah.
understand what they're going on. And I think it hits back to the way Dante spoke about your Instagram page too, and just how clean it is. I mean, guys, if you get a chance, go follow him at Alternate Golf Logos on Instagram. +1 Creative is what the logo looks like. It's a little pencil with a flag with a +1. It's just clean, man. It's just, it speaks to, and I'm seeing some favorites on here that are close to heart for me. Hershey Country Club with the little Hershey kiss playing golf. Scranton Country Club with the little light bulb with the year in it. I think that's super clean. I might send that their direction because I love it so much. Dante, I don't know if you're seeing that, and it's just, there's some favorites in there. Even the one at Trump Doral, I think this one hits on the fact of what you were talking about of, like, wasn't really overall liked, but when you put it on a hat, it just looked incredible. Yeah. It's clean, simple, to the point, and it just looks great embroidered.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, I have a default embroidery program that I run it through that is utterly terrible. And I take one that's terrible on purpose just to see, like, in the most basic sense, like, what am I going to lose? So if this program is able to spit out a good image, I know I've hit on a pretty good one. But yeah, I mean, the Trump Doral one's really cool. It's a little bit of a mashup between an alligator and a snake. It's got a little bit of element of both, but when I'm thinking of Blue Monster, I wasn't sure what to go with, and I didn't want to make Fozzie Bear, so I went with something more Florida based.
I'm digging the Firestone Country Club one.
Yeah, me too.
Like,
so give us a story on that, because I know you fought hard for that, from what I understand, to just break the door open to even get the conversation started. And then as soon as you got that conversation started, it seems like the wheel got turning pretty quick. Yeah.
I mean, there's a little bit of red tape involved with that, just because it's they're managed by Club Corp. The director of golf loves it. He's a gem. If you ever follow his page, he's an interesting cat. He's cool. He's a really good fit for Firestone. But I'm trying to work with him to kind of get that, in motion at some point. I know, with management companies, they don't like alternate branding at all. And I would say that's my biggest holdup right now, is, like, if one of the golf courses, I mean, courses from all over the country who are Troon courses and Club Corp, and, just any management company, they're so gun shy to change anything. But you know, a good golf course logo doesn't have a full paragraph in it of like, oh, you know, so-and-so golf and country club and tennis and pickleball now and so-and-so. And, oh, by the way, we have a pool too. Like they have everything written in there. And that's one of those ones where it's logos done by non-golfers, where I think in terms of a business, this isn't more of a, are you a good artist? Are you creative and do you have a good feel for it? So like, you know, there's a lot of research that goes into all my designs. Like I'll see what the big industry was, you know, around the turn of the century when the course was built. And I mean, even the Scranton one, Scranton is not really much of a pivot because that is the current S they use. But I sit here till 2 a.m. and I have the office background. I can hear all the episodes. I already seen them 100 times, but you know, Scranton is the electric city. I mean, Google the YouTube video. It's incredible. But that's a symbol in the middle of the city, is that exact shape of a light bulb. And I don't know, I can't say what people's tastes are. I know what the Country Club of Scranton logo is right now, but I mean, if you put a gun to my head, it's better. It's better than what it is. It's more creative, but it's not crazy. It's not a wacky one. It's the same, you know, one color design. It's just a little more interesting. And if that I always tell my friends this, if that had been the previous design and I came at you with what their current one was, people would be coming after me with pitchforks. Like, if my design was the original one, it's hard to conceptualize that. But if I was the incumbent person and then I came at them with just letters and a crest, they would have said, this sucks. So it's hard to, you know, I mean, listen, if Shinnecock can change their logo, anybody can. And they don't have to. This
is why I love you as simply as a follow. You go after people on stories, and I love it because it's deserved. So some of these logos are just, you look at it and you say, that's the one you went with. And that's the one some of these clubs have stuck with for over 20, 30 years, if not longer. And Dante got me into a really cool part of golf fashion. I would say when I met him and understood what he liked versus what I like wearing, he loves the embroidered belts. Like 100% loves the embroidered belts. And now when I go into a pro shop, I look for these embroidered belts, and it's something that I look at that now I never look at before. And it takes a good logo on a belt like that to be buy worthy, right? Like I'm not going to buy it if the logo's garbage. And
you don't want a $150 belt with a crest on it,
with a Times New Roman T on it. No, I don't. And Dante, you can.
Sorry, Toledo Country Club.
Yeah, it's like you go into these shops, especially when you're traveling, and you look for stuff like that. And Dante's taught me the art of how to buy some good golf merch in a pro shop.
I mean, yeah, I mean, like after like meeting Dalton, kind of going back and forth, like what we like to see. I mean, you constantly see these days, it's the logo hat and the logo shirt and the logo ball. Like that's like the 3 things that everybody goes to purchase, and it always has been and probably always will. And but what makes the update, let's say not change, the update, or, you know, something that piques your interest in what you want to buy, something different, because it's, you know, how many logo shirts are you going to have? Right? Like, I mean, you're just going to fill up your closet.
I have 45.
45.
Yeah. Okay. And I honestly, whenever I have friends over to my place, I will give them away to my friends. Like if I've worn it enough, as like party favorites. It's like, it's like they just hooked up with Derek Jeter, but you know, they went out for beers with me in my town, but like, I'll just like give away a shirt.
Yeah.
I don't buy golf shirts anymore because we get them, you know, with all the tournaments and stuff. And I try to pick out t-shirts now. I like hoodies, you know, maybe a winter hat, just something different. I mean, I'm looking.
Yes.
If you do something interesting, I'll give you a visual. There was the T gifts a couple of years ago for the Gasparilla Invitational. It's a flash. It's something different. It wasn't a pullover.
Yes. And that's like the thing. It's like,
and I still have it because of that.
And it's something that pops to your eye, and you're like, wow, like I can actually. That's a sick logo. That's like sick piece of merch. I'm gonna, I can utilize that a lot more.
Yep.
Like you said, like
Yep.
utilize a shirt or a polo or a hat, and it gets gunky or whatnot, and then it's like, or it just gets stuck in the closet, or you're giving it out to your buddies. But stuff like head covers and belts, like that you can like wear with almost anything. You can mix and match. I mean, like that's like the thing that you see these days. It's like you're saying, you don't want to be geeked out and like head to toe in Shinnecock stuff.
You can't double up. You cannot double up. I will call you out on it.
Yeah, you see now you see guys, you got and you can have multiple logos now. Like you can represent all the courses that you play. Before it was just hats and shirts. Right now it's head covers, putter covers, hybrid covers, bags, as some people will, belts. I mean, you can walk in and have 6 different courses and have it on your belt, have it on your polo, have it on your hat, have it on like 2 other head covers, maybe 3 head covers. And I think that's what's so unique now. But in order for me to purchase that logo has to be pretty damn cool.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not going to buy it.
No, you're completely right, Dante. And honestly, a lot of so I have like a litmus test for everything that I do. Honestly, these logos aren't even for the members. It's sprinkling for the members, but it's for the guests that they bring. I mean, if you've ever been to any sort of really, really high-end private club, it's a member and 3 guests. You got to have that guest have to say, he has to walk into the pro shop and be like, I got to get myself a hat before I leave. Like, it has to happen. Like if you don't have a logo that somebody says that with, you're leaving $1,000 off the table with every group that goes by. I mean, I was out playing the bridge this year out in the Hamptons, and hell, me and my dad both walked out of there, played 1 round. I made sure to miss the cut in pretty breathtaking fashion, but both of us spent in the neighborhood of $300 each, and a lot of other people did that. It's just, but if it was a crest, I would have took a really nice picture of Sag Harbor, and I would have shot my 83 and left. So it's one of those things that it's a financial must. And honestly, if your pro owns their shop and you're one of those people that holds them up from making money, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on your podcast, but one of my first conversations, I had a really, really good logo that one of the members kind of reached out to me. He goes, I actually don't want my pro making that much money. So I kindly told him, because he said the design was too good, and I'll never tell anybody where and who did it, but I made sure he was on the phone with me. And I actually said, do you hear that little garbage can thing? That was me deleting it. And this is me extra deleting it because you guys will never, ever see this logo.
Oh, my goodness. And that's,
but yeah, if you're going to treat your pro like that, I'm not going to do business with you.
One of the, I guess, mind-blowing things is the refusal to change. Dante and I talk about this all the time. And again, the C word comes up all the time because I guess it's just habitual for me to say that. But the refusal, I guess, to modernize and to bring a different view into picture, I think is the biggest talking point of a lot of places is like, well, we've always done it this way, but that's always been our logo. Why would we? And Dante, I know he cringes because we have this conversation all the time. What is some of the pushback that you've maybe received from some of these old clubs? But on the Catch-22, has there been much pushback, or are you reluctant to get through to a lot of these older style places and say, hey, I'm going to make you money?
Sometimes. Yeah. I mean, I just don't think they understand that. And it's tough to make people understand this. It's just, they think I'm changing something. I'm not. It's, if I want mustard on my hot dog, that doesn't mean I have to have mustard on everything ever. Like, if you give me fries with that, I'm going to put some ketchup on it. It doesn't mean we're the ketchup guys now through and through. It's just something different. It's a reason for your members to buy 2 separate things of merchandise because they don't have to double up on their own logo. That's the only one I wouldn't call somebody out for is if one of them has, the old logo of their course and then, something unique. As long as it's different. And a lot of these places, so I follow a lot of the golf courses in the country, and I follow a lot of PGA pros. The one thing that I find is that every place thinks they're incredibly unique, but like during member guest season, I have to see a million stories of some nitwit, trying to really not thin one in a shootout. And everybody calls their member guests the Invitational, and they have the same stuff, and they have the same the same swag. And you guys, you've played golf forever. The one thing golfers want is a unique experience. That's a reason why, they go to some of these places. Like, all right, Pebble Beach, it's a unique experience because of what's surrounding you. I mean, the 11th hole there isn't the best hole in the world. It's not like they have the fastest greens on earth. It's not the hardest golf course on earth, but it's a unique experience to be, basically in golf heaven out there, on the Monterey Peninsula. Like, when I go to Oak Hill, like their little, their halfway houses have the little peanut butter and cheese crackers that, you know what? It was nice. I didn't have to spend any money. The last time I played there, I was younger. I didn't have as much money, but it was nice to have a little touches like that make it different from somewhere else where everybody does everything so painfully similar. And I would say the Midwest is the least creative place on the face of the earth.
I think you hit the nail on the head there as far as just unique experiences that really get people to travel and to pay money. Mm-hmm. When it's something different on a golf course, whether it's a member guest, whether it's just your regular 18 holes of golf, you went and traveled and played somewhere, that little extra touch of detail, that little free pack of crackers or free water bottles or ice down water bottles or ice buckets somewhere, something, golfers realize it and they put it in the back of their heads immediately. And it comes up in conversation when they travel home. It comes up in conversation when they travel somewhere else. Man, remember that other place? This place doesn't have what that place had. And it trickles on down the line to where all of a sudden it's not just a detail that you do that day or on that course or in the pro shop. It's a detail that travels around the world because we're golfers. We like to talk. We like to build fish stories of who had the better experience. And if we can have a one-upper, we're going to tell you about it. And I think, kind of circling back, that a small minor detail like a logo update or something like that can just have the world of impact on people years down the road.
Yeah. I mean, if honestly, if I played a golf course, a really good course that has a really bad logo, I'm not going to buy anything. I'm just going to enjoy my day. I'm going to take it all in. But you're not going to get like $340 at the end that, if I'm going to play Shinnecock or Wingfoot. Like the one thing that I run into when I play a place that good is just trying not to look like a pig on the way out, just getting as much stuff as I can. Well, I'll try to buy something before and after just so it's not all one purpose, so I don't look like a jackass. But I mean, I play golf courses all the time that just, they don't have a good logo, and I have so many good ones. Why would I buy something?
Yeah, I love it, man. It's definitely something where, especially when I started following you and realizing the just plethora of logos out there that are almost carbon copies of each other too, which I think is downright hilarious. You're pulling.
I found a lot that are exactly the same.
You've pulled legitimately same like clip art trees, and they're in like 30 different logos. It blows my mind. It's downright hilarious. Like I said in the beginning of the episode, guys, if you aren't following him, please go follow him. Just his stories alone are absolutely incredibly hilarious at times. He calls out different clubs that have, like we were just talking about, carbon copy logos of each other. He goes, should I do this one or should I do this one? Should I do both? Alternate golf logos on Instagram. Is there any other platforms that you're currently on, or is it mainly just Instagram? And is that the main way folks can reach out to you if they want some work done?
Yeah, so I don't know how to tweet anything. I have Facebook, but I don't want it's less interactive. Instagram is so interactive. Like, I actually like to get everybody involved. I like to get the public involved in the creative process. Like, I get a poll, I get a pretty good cross section of what people like and what people don't like. And it's only come with a couple negative things on the way back. There's a golf course in North Carolina where one of their members asked me, hey, can you do a concept for me? I did a concept that is, all right, it's a 2-concept club. And I got so many nasty grams from all their members thinking I'm changing anything. By the way, their logo is absolutely just ridiculous. Should I call them out? Yeah, screw it. Pine Island in Charlotte. There's a lot of bad logos in Charlotte, and I have kind of cherry-picked Charlotte as one of the better pockets of golf in the South that have a lot of bad logos. Like, so one of their members asked me, like, hey, can you do a concept? Are you guys familiar? You're from Maryland. Are you familiar with the Burning Tree logo?
Very. Yep.
So, I'll put my hat on yours right now. That and winged foot. What would be the first thing if somebody said, hey, by the way, the golf course is named Burning Tree? What would you make as the logo?
A tree in flames. I mean,
Yahtzee.
Very
and that's
simple.
why. and the same with winged foot. It's a foot with a wing on it. It also was the New York Athletic Club logo, but I won't say anything about that.
He digresses.
But the Burning Tree. So it's a 2-element thing. It's on the nose. It's exactly what it is. Mm-hmm. So for Pine Island, I took a pine tree and I put like on a little small island, and it's super simple and it embroidered well. But holy shit, the things that people sent me. And now I have about 10 people that I could put a Picasso up there and they would still vote against it. I have a couple people in Charlotte that just don't like me because listen, I didn't take any money. I didn't change anything. Somebody asked me to draw them a picture and I drew them a picture. I was like, your course name is Pine Island. You have 2 elements. I made these 2 elements. And, I think I might have fired back at one of them. I said, this is why you guys aren't Burning Tree.
I mean, at the end of the day, that's half the battle. It truly is. Like, you're sparking interest. The minute someone goes to a Google review or to just your website and you see a logo that you're like, man, that looks like every other middle of the range country club that I've ever played. Yeah. Like, what makes you special? I mean, it doesn't, our attention spans across the globe are shorter now than they have ever been. If you're not grabbing people's attention, whether it's a logo or what else, then people aren't going to stick around to find out the rest. And I think that's the other kind of magic about what you're doing too, is it's no words, barely any words, maybe 1 or 2. And it's a pop you in the face real quick. And it smacks you. And it either says, hey, I want to find out more what that is, or I don't. And end of story. And then they're like, all right, move on or figure out more. And logos across the world are trying to do that. And I think it's what golf is so desperately needs.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, a lot of courses here, you can make the argument that I'm in downstate New York, but I consider myself upstate because I'm not in the city. But so a lot of courses up here have that old Native American head logo. And the PC police are going to come after them. A lot of my friends it's actually a big part of our culture up here. A lot of my Native American friends aren't offended by it. They actually kind of like having them at the courses because they tell me that, people don't forget about them. They don't forget about the lineage. But a lot of courses are, people have weddings there and they ask them to cover up the insignia. So I'm helping a lot of them transition out of them, but Native American culture up, especially north of me and, central and Western New York, it is such a big part of the culture. I moved with reservations everywhere. And, one of my roommates in college was Native American. So I'm transitioning them out of that without, turning a blind eye to the culture. Like, I'm giving them something cooler, like maybe like a tomahawk or an arrowhead, something that probably will embroider a little easier, that you don't, that somebody having a wedding there doesn't have to cover up. But it's just it's, like it or not, PC police is coming for everything, and trust me, they've come after some of my logos before. It's just you know, it's just one of those things you got to deal with. But you know, I have a pretty thick skin.
I think
I'm
if you're living or breathing, those PC police are out for you at some point in time. So everybody's going to run into it, especially if you're like us, where you're putting your opinions out there. Well, even if it's just golf for us, you know, if you're putting your opinions out there, someone's going to have something nasty to say about it somewhere down the line. So it's better off to have thick skin and kind of stick on your word and know, especially in your shoes, that I'm just designing a logo at the end of the day, and it's got great intentions behind it. And at the end of the day, you can hang your hat on that.
Yeah. I mean, like, listen, I grew up with a thick skin. I'm a bald Asian kid that grew up around New York City that, my main hobby is golf. So I've been picked on my whole life. I can handle it. I can, I can take a no and I can take a punch and I can move on and I'll do better. Or maybe I might hit you back. Who knows?
There you go. He'll keep you guessing.
Some of these courses, like I might do, I will show you that Pine Island hat, and it's actually not bad. Like, it's really, really cool looking. It's very simple. It only has 3 colors, and man, were their members mad about it, because they have the full name in their in their logo, and it's a scribble of a tree, which
I'm looking.
Come on, guys. Yep. I mean, it's so I got some pretty nasty stuff said to me, like, bro, this thing is shit. Like, everything thrown at me, like, in the middle of the night. And I can see they vote no on all my stories. Like, it's just, I was doing a favor for one of the members. Like, I hadn't played there. This was just the thought I had. Like,
I've got some interesting homework, and it's not for you two, but it's for our listener base as a whole. Send us in what you think in your general area, wherever you're at, could use an update, because I think, as we start to look around, you can really see where these logos need some desperate help. Dante, you've got one off the top of your head.
Course. Mine. It stinks.
What is it?
It's Running Deer Golf Club, and it's,
I've seen it.
Yeah, it needs an update. Like, they tried to go, like, so they brought back the member guest. They did it in 2019. Obviously, COVID, they did away with it, but they're bringing it back. But I mean, if you look at it, it's the shield with 2 running deer on top of each other, right? And that's it. Mm-hmm. And it says running. It's the old school shield, right? Running Deer Golf Club. Boom. I was like, so they're like, oh, let's take away the name and let's take away the shield and just have the 2 deer. And like, they're trying to get this concept of, like, the member guest is like the deer. Are you going to the deer? Are you playing in the deer? Like, I like that concept, but the logo that they're trying to throw on, like, the hat for, like, the new, I guess you could say, quote unquote, member gear is 2 deer. And it's just like, I'm just sitting there. I'm like,
well, it's one of those things where, all right, so logos can get terrible for 2 reasons. I don't know if you guys have ever watched Parks and Rec. There's some logos in the country that they're a crest with a name under it, and it has like a golf club, a tennis, a sword, a shield, and then a thing on top. So we call that's called a camel, because it's a horse by committee. That's where they're like, all right, we should have this, but we should definitely say this. And then there's other ones where it goes exactly the opposite, where there's some logos in Florida that are just like a letter. Like, that's it. That means somebody probably had a original design, and then it just kept getting drummed down and drummed down and drummed down. So I try to keep the amount of people that have their real hands on it creatively down to a very, very minimum. Because then you can get something unique that, is a chance. Like, listen, guys, if Wingfoot and Shinnecock can change their logo, so can you. Like,
I love it.
Explain to me, like, other than maybe like Augusta and Cypress Point, anybody else in the country behind Shinnecock on the list, explain to me how much better you are than them. And then I will say something nasty back, and probably sarcastic, and then we can move on and be friends.
There you go. And then you can add a +1 logo to their arsenal. because that's what it's all about is building that repertoire. I love it, man.
Absolutely.
I love what you're doing. I love the way that you're doing it. Like I said, I get an absolute kick out of going through your stories every other night and voting, because I have as much fun as you do probably. And I know that's a lot of fun, but I have a ton of fun going through and just voting and seeing who you're going to snipe out next. I'm always on edge to see who's the next logo on the chopping block.
The Midwest as a whole.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Calling out an entire region. It's so cool, man. And I wish you the best moving forward too, because I know there's just so much opportunity out there for you. I think the golf industry is going to be so much better off with the work you do. Grand scheme of things, if you had to look at it from like a 10-year lens, how many golf courses would you think could you have under your belt by, that kind of time frame, or how much would be considered an exciting success?
Well, an exciting success would be, I don't know, maybe a third of them. But, I mean, I really don't have that much of a personal life, and I really can crank these things out. And it's just a feel thing. I take a lot of my meetings during the day. Frankly, I think I could do over 1,000 a year.
I love it.
And sometimes if your logo, all right. So this is where I got a lot of pushback from my friends who like Scranton. I would say in the grand scheme of things, take away the golf experience. And that's, everybody has trouble compartmentalizing golf course to actual artwork of the course. I would say in the grand scheme of things, Scranton probably runs about a 4 on the logo and is about a 9-8 on the golf course. If I can bring your logo at least to a 6, just do it. Who cares? Like, I'm not going to change the primary. You're going to sell 35% more stuff in a year. And is that really going to hurt anybody? Put all the money back into the irrigation system if you have to. But yeah, I mean, if I can do any better for your course, just do it. Like, nobody ever has been fired over a bad logo, but there has been a couple pros that have taken a chance or two that they're probably going to end their career with a couple extra $1 million than the next guy who was afraid to take a chance. So
I love it. It's definitely, I think, a no-brainer, but like you said, other people may think otherwise, but,
oh yeah,
and it's been fun talking logos and how you can go about your designs, because I know for myself, I studied architecture in college. The design background and the process of getting from nothing to final product is always exciting, just as a designer, let alone to help other clubs jump in there and reap the benefits of kind of adding some really cool designs to their club. So guys, go check them out. Alternate Golf Logos on Instagram, +1 Creative, out of the Hudson Valley, New York area. So if you're in that area, shout him out. You might even go get to play with him. Chances are he'll kick your ass because he's a +1. All right, guys. So that was Ryan Gabel, founder of +1 Golf Creative. Really cool story there, Dante. We kind of shot, I guess, his way because of the incredible logos that he was making, and tried to do some stuff with him as far as animating our logos. So we're still working on that with him, which is some exciting stuff down the road for you guys. But I think when you look at fresh logos on a golf club, it's just like we said in the podcast, it revitalizes a pro shop if you can get something in there that people love.
Oh, definitely. I mean, how many times do you go in to a golf course that you've played for the first time and you're like, well, I kind of want to walk out with some merch, whether, it's a couple head covers or a ball marker or a logo shirt or hat. And you're like, and the first thing you think of is the logo like good looking enough for me to even want to purchase anything? I mean, if it's just there with like a couple letters and that's it, like, no, like I'm not going to purchase that, even though if the course is insane. You know what I mean? Even if it's like a top 100 course, I mean, granted, you probably spend some money a little bit, but say that you were there, but you get my point here is you go, you play a track. You're like, wow, I really like the track. I really like this course. Like, oh, like even if it's like not the best track in the world. And you're like, wow, like that logo's sick. Like I want some merch for that. I'm going to get that. So being able to kind of have that and having someone like, all right, well, here's like your original logo, but here's like an alternate logo that we're going to do for maybe members only or member guests. Is just insane because now, like you have that special piece of like merch, like, yo, what, that's a sick hat. Like, where'd you get that? I was like, oh, I played in the member guest. Like, it was only for the member guests. Like, people were like, damn, like that's sick. Like, only 100 people have it.
Well, and I think what's really cool too is like your home club, Running Deer, just did something, from what I understand, of like a one-off. Now it's not like a new logo, but it's kind of like the nickname of what everyone calls Running Deer. They call it the Deer. For your member guests, they did some cool the Deer merch as like a backpack for you guys and a hat and whatnot. So
dude, I mean, I was shocked.
It came out great for you guys.
It did. And that's what they're trying to turn it into. I mean, they started it 2 years ago. They brought back the member guest. And COVID hit, obviously they didn't have it. So they came back again. So they were able to have it this year, which was amazing. Hell of an event. I was extremely shocked on, how well they put it together. And, it's like, I'm going to go towards the Running Deer member guest, or I'm going to go play in the Glenmara member guest, or like the Glenmara is the Glenmara 3-day. There's always that like name, right? And like, that's what they're trying to push, is they're trying to push like, oh, what are you doing this weekend? Oh, I got invited to play the Deer. Like, oh shit, you're playing the Deer. Like, everybody's going to know like the Deer is that invitational member guest tournament. It's not going to be like, oh, I'm playing in the Glad Riddle member guest. You know what I mean? It's like, they're taking a logo and they're taking a name to it. And that's what they're doing. It's the Deer. Like, next year, that's probably how they'll label it. Like, you're invited to the Deer. And that's just something. Listen, I wish Ryan can maybe like design something with that aspect of a logo. Like, oh, that's the Deer. Like, that's the Deer's logo for the Deer. Like,
well, and I think I'll be honest with you. I know you kind of like go back and forth on loving the logo, but it's really simple for you guys. It's 2 deer, it's 1 buck and 1 doe, and they're running, like they're in full motion. So it's simple. It's nice. I think it's clean.
I like the
and it translates easily to the Deer.
Yeah, I mean, or Running Deer, especially when you see like the whole thing. I think it says Running Deer Golf Club in it, and there's like this shield around it, and like, pretty simple, really simplistic, but it kind of also stands out. But I would like to see some of these more modern designs that Ryan can design and see what he can kind of do if he ever gets in touch with kind of the general management of our course. It'd be cool to see. They give like some more Deer-esque merch down for like next year's the Deer.
For sure. Well, I mean, and that seemed to be the coolest thing about it. When you said, hey man, we got this awesome merch pack. That was kind of the beginning of the week. Take us through the weekend, man. You guys had a blast. You had Paulie K up there, which is an old teammate of mine from college. Yep. Talk us through the weekend, man. How fun was the member guest out at the Deer?
Oh, dude, it was an absolute blast. And it was like, you got everything out for it. I mean, one thing, like a little backstory, we all went to Marywood. Paul played golf. I played lacrosse. Like, Paul and I basically, I met him freshman year, been friends ever since. And we basically took the same major. Obviously you played golf with them, so you know him as well. And we've been friends ever since. And ever since I kind of got into golf around like 2014, 2015, he is yet to come to the course. And I finally got him free. He's very busy, basically playing golf, running his own business, and working working another 9 to 5 at the same time. So yeah, I got this weekend free. Like, I'll come down. I said, whoa. And I was like, dude, this like, and I'm like, a little nervous too. Cause like, you want to make sure like, hopefully the course puts everything like out perfectly. And I really think they did. I mean, it was a Saturday, Sunday event, which it probably could have been stretched into 3 days if they really wanted to, but Friday was an optional practice round with, drinks and hors d'oeuvres at like 4:30 to 6:30, which was all already included in the price. And then Saturday we got to play. We played it was a 2-man better ball flighted, within your flights. I mean, it was 2-man better ball with handicap. So you play that the first round, but let me backtrack. You got there in the morning, free range balls. You got your package. You got, breakfast. They gave you breakfast, and then you went off and they did shotgun start, which was nice. So everybody can kind of finish at the same time and kind of had like the big camaraderie. Then they provided lunch for you. And then after the round, when we got lunch, they kind of like rallied things back up real quick and then sent back everybody back out. And we played, since it was the 13th anniversary. We played the first 13 holes in a 2-man scramble. And that actually wasn't just for extra golf. That counted towards your score. So like it wasn't,
kidding. I love
so
that.
everybody's like drinking and stuff, and they're all, it was hot. That usually the weekend's a lot cooler that time of year, but damn, it was hot and everybody was drinking, having a good time. So everybody's kind of baked out, but at the same time, you're like, oh crap, like we need the focus if we want to win, because this is part of our score. And you can just tell everybody's getting tired.
Yeah.
And then we came back and they had like a little cocktail hour. They also had allowed us to utilize the showers in the locker rooms and allow us to freshen up, because immediately from there we went and they had this huge dinner. Dude, I'm telling you, at lunch they legit gave everybody a card. I felt like I was in a wedding, because they also host weddings, and they gave us a card and they asked, would you like the beef, the chicken, or the fish for dinner? And you marked that off, and they took all the orders in. And while all that was going on and we were having a good time hanging out, we were out, they were out in the back grinding their asses off, making sure that all this, like all the dinner and stuff's like together. And then from there, you had the dinner, which was, prime rib, chicken, like roulade, and then some type of fish. And it was like all delicious and all you can drink, anything. I'm telling you, like beer, mixed drinks, they had vendors there, kind of like high noon and like all those type of seltzer vendors there, just giving out drinks and like whatever you wanted. It was for like anybody. Like, so you can really like drink your money's worth if you want.
That's the best part about any member guest that I've been a part of too. Every time I've been a member guest, they've been, you pay your upfront fee, and it is all you can eat, all you can drink the entire time you're on the premises, which I think is the way it should be, right? Like they're opening up the doors to you. You don't want to pay this fee just for the golf alone and then have to go pay another couple $100 for all the booze and all the food you're going to eat all weekend long. So I think that's the way to do it. I'm happy to hear that you guys were having a blast with it as well.
They basically closed the entire course down for the weekend for just those participating. And then, afterwards there, one of the companies I work for, he makes his own cigars. So he brought his cigars, and we had a nice cigar, a whiskey bar on the outside patio, which was very nice. And then they had like side games, and closest to the pin, they were hitting from the range over, where the practice green is. So if you like walk up to the course, the clubhouse is there. And like, if you walk through the middle and then you go outside, there's like the big patio area where they had the ceremonies and they have like the pillars for weddings. And right behind it is the putting green, which is massive. And then off to like kind of like your left on like a 45-degree angle is where the range is. Well, they were hitting off the mat of the range over the pavilion onto the putting green for like closest to the pin. And they were throwing like side money down and stuff like that. So they were having a blast, having a good time, smoking it up, drinking this and that. And then, Sunday was just like the last, the second round, which counted. And then they took the flight winners and basically had, a little shootout, and everybody just got in the carts and followed everybody. I think it took like 2 or 3 holes for them to win. And, they're hitting some wild shots. So, it was a hell of a time. I was so pumped that Paul was able to finally come down and see the course, and you've played the course. And he goes, what am I? And I didn't give him a practice round, because he goes, dude, there's a practice round. I was like, yeah, but like with work and everything, I couldn't like swing it. I tried. He goes, oh my God. He goes, next year, like we're getting a practice round, because the course and how it is. What makes the course are the greens. Like, and it's pretty much straight in front of you, and it's the greens. And he was like, how big are these greens? They said, they're huge. Like, was an understatement. He got on like the first green. He goes, you got to be kidding me. And it was
that first green is a rude awakening for the rest of the course.
It really was. And so it was just pumped, because I was pumped, and I thought it was hysterical, because I know he was my teammate, and he was getting himself in all the crap lies that we go through like week in and week out. Right? Like the bad lies, because you can get penalized for hitting like a good shot. He goes, he goes, I've never been penalized for hitting a good shot. I said, well, that's the deer for you. Welcome. And I just started cracking up. And anytime he got himself into like a jam like that, or on the greens, he was just like obviously getting frustrated, because, he's a hell of a player, but he's not used to that. Like, that's one thing about running deer, is like you have to play it often and a lot in order to kind of be able to tackle the course. And it was just, I was just like dying laughing about every time. Like, I'm sorry, Paul. I know that's not how you wanted your teammate to kind of treat you, but damn, it was like, oh man, what's that? Misery loves company. And I said, welcome aboard, buddy. Welcome to the Deer. I probably said that hundreds of times. I mean, it was a blast. He's looking forward to the next year. We're basically already signed up.
I mean, that was my welcome when I came and played for the first time. The third or fourth hole, I ran into like back-to-back, just trash lies off of great tee shots. And I'm like, what is this? And you just said the same thing. Welcome to the Deer.
Welcome to the Deer. And the crazy thing with the greens is like, you have to, depending on where the pin is, they're very undulated. I mean, you can see every break. You have to break them up in quadrants and aim for the one quadrant of the green. You can't just go middle of the green, or 3-putt is very common at the Deer. For any of those that are intrigued, give us a holler. We'll have you out.
We'll get you out. We'll set up a little money match, and we'll take your cash like we did the past Club Champs cash last time I was out there.
Yes, we did. Yep.
You love to do it. You
Love
really
it.
do. There's nothing better than coming into enemy territory and going out with a W.
Absolutely, man. It was a blast. I had a hell of a time. Hats off to Running Deer and Michael Sophia, the GM, for putting on an event. I mean, the staff went above and beyond. They truly did. I mean, it was extremely well run. I mean, I don't think there was really much complaints about kind of like the logistics of everything. I really didn't see much of an issue. Obviously, there are some things that you would like to see a little bit different, but they just did one hell of a job. I mean, it's pretty much near perfect. So like, again, I'm pumped for it for next year. I mean, the merch was sick. I mean, for what you got just out of the door prize bag for just walking into the clubhouse. I mean, that alone just, I was like, all right, I'm going to go home. I'm good. See you.
I tell you, it seems to be a theme. Everyone I've talked to, everyone I've, been a part of, the staff has just killed it since kind of coming out of this COVID break. And I think it's just so refreshing for everyone to be back and be like in a camaraderie setting, that the staff's excited to be there. The people who are excited to be there to experience it. And that's what a member guest is all about. Like we talked about the Palm Springs Golf Championship, and I think that brings member guest vibes too. But it's like just about getting together, especially with your buddy, have a guest in, show off your place at the best it's going to be, and just have a good time. If you win your flight, awesome. But that's really not what it's about. It's about everything else surrounding the golf.
Yeah. I mean, what's better to go out, be a little bit competitive, and then right afterwards, hang out with all your member friends and all that, and your buddies from your course, and just meet all their friends and just having a good time, drinking some beers and just, talking golf. I mean, it was just perfect weather too. I mean, it was absolutely perfect weather, a little on the warmer side, but clear blue skies both days.
Love it. That's all the doctor can order.
Right. I mean, geez. It's just, it happened 2 weeks ago, and I'm like sitting here thinking like, damn, like I want to go back.
I love it. Well, and then you played a lot of golf because you rolled right into a father-son tournament the next day, which I think is so cool, because we've been talking about this for ages. You and your dad have been going out once a week and getting practice rounds in together. What was the event, and how much fun was that to play an event with your dad finally?
That was awesome. And it was a gap run event. So those who have listened, obviously the course I come out of runs out of the area of Philadelphia. So they have an association, Golf Association of Philadelphia. And so that's where I can play all like my tournament rounds, and those that are, good enough to play in the USAMs and US Open qualifiers. That's where they go to. They run all the events, and it's courses all throughout the, the Philadelphia area, I guess you can say, that's affiliated, that they host and run these events. Well, they have this one that's very popular. It's the Gap father-son tournament. And they have a younger, a middle, and an older based on the son's age range. And obviously, me being 30, turning 31, I'm in the highest bracket. So we signed up for the father-son older tournament. It was held out in Lancaster at Conestoga Country Club. Hell of a track, short, but pretty tough. I mean, it's like really short. Like the tips are like 6,400 yards, which is, your average course is middle tees. And it was one hell of a time. And I've never heard my dad say so many times with and around. He goes, "This is a lot of fun. We're doing this again next year." I mean,
that's great, man.
And the format, and this is why we practice. Dalton said that we practice. So the format was each hole was selective drive. And then from there, it was alternate shot until you held up. So now my dad isn't the best of competitive players. He's a 24 handicap. So, he just goes out, he's retired and has a good time. So I was a little nervous on that spot because obviously, being a higher handicap like that, you're prone to hit a lot more bad shots. Mm-hmm. And he held his own. I mean, we went out for a month straight, like once a week on a Wednesday and kind of played the format. But what was also awesome about the format, since my dad was above 65, there was two divisions. There was championship and a super senior division. Well, he was opted into the super senior division. Well, the rules is whatever division you play in, both players play from that set of tees. So guess what? I was in the super senior division.
Man, you got to ham and egg it all the way up.
Dude, we played the forward set of tees. Dude, it played like 5,600 yards, but it's still the course was still no joke because you had the wind and the undulation and all that. But it was a lot of fun. So kind of like how we strategized, because we thought that there was rules to where you had to select each amount of parents or father-son drives, but there wasn't. So, me being younger and obviously longer, I just bombed driver. He went first and I was like, just get it and play. He goes, okay. So he was able to he can drive the ball pretty well. It's usually he struggles getting up towards the green and that's usually where he struggles. So I was like, all right. So I was like, get us in play. He goes, okay. And he went first every single time. And he just got it in play. And
just to get you to sure thing.
Yep. And I just took aggressive lines, dude. I don't think that was the best I've drove the ball in a while. And then he would just take the second shot in, and then we would try and go from there. And he actually played really well that day, to the point where we were getting the ball to the green and had so many birdie looks, we just couldn't figure out the greens.
Couldn't make
a putt. The greens were on the slower side, but they rolled really good. But it was weird because if you hit it firm towards the break, it would roll through the break and well past the hole. Or if you hit it at the break and try to I guess you could say die it in or get it to the hole, it would take a hard turn and go on the low side. And we just kept seeing that hole after hole after hole. We're we were talking about it on the ride back. He goes, honestly, we could have probably done a lot better if we just could have made the putts. And I was like, you're absolutely right. I said, we probably three putted so many greens today that it just hurt us. But we did have one bad hole. I hit this bomb of a drive. We were 120 yards, but it played 140 because it was severely uphill. Now, also note, if we're playing selective drive, right, and we take my drive, we have to play my ball until it's holed. Well, we're out in front of this creek on this hole. I think it's the fourth hole we're playing. And guess what my dad decided to do? He decided to chunk the shot, and my ball just plopped right into the water. He's just oh, I'm so sorry. I said, first, that's rule number one that you broke. I said, we don't apologize for bad shots. Yep. I was like, don't worry. I said, 2, you owe me a ball. And so I took a ball out of my bag and, I dropped it, and it was a tough hole. We ended up making triple bogey on that hole. It was tough getting it to the green because I think it was 100 feet above. It was just a tough green, and kind of we just tried to, I think right there was the dagger, and we just couldn't control the bleeding.
But it's funny. That's every person in an alternate shot scenario's worst nightmare is oh, this isn't my ball, this hole. Please don't lose this thing. Please don't lose this thing.
But the best thing was I looked over and the son, the playing partners that we had, the son, he's reaching in his bag and he grabs a ball and he drops it. I said, yo, did your dad lose your ball too? He goes, yeah, he did. I said, I think they owe us a couple of new golf balls here. And he just started laughing. I mean, the group we played with, it was a hell of a time. They were great guys. I mean, they were from the area. I mean, we just had a blast. It was just a lot of fun. And again, I mean, it was another perfect day for golf. Like, I mean, it was just 3 great days for golf. And I just like, it was a hell of a weekend. Definitely great memories. Definitely going to be back. I'm excited to see what next year's course brings, see where it's at. Maybe it might be a little bit closer because the craziest thing is we drove that Sunday night. So as soon as we got done the member guest, I went home, packed up everything, and then hopped in the car again and took off.
You are a traveled man.
I mean, speaking of travel, man, someone did a lot more miles than I did.
We put some miles on the treads this past week. Those who follow us on Instagram at Enjoy the Walk Pod definitely know where we were. We kind of kept it hush hush until we got down there because, you know, as events transpired, we weren't sure if we were going to get in. But we went down with Boston Scott, which was, you know, out of Collegeville, Pennsylvania. For those who don't know, up and coming apparel company. I say up and coming, but they've got some guys on the PGA Tour. They've got Korn Ferry Tour guys wearing their stuff now. Very heavily integrated in the junior side of golf. That's where they got their start, making junior golf shirts. But they were sponsoring an event down at Eastlake Golf Club in Atlanta, Georgia. So we kind of partnered up. I helped them drive their mobile showroom trailer down to Atlanta, Georgia, Saturday and Sunday while you were playing your member guests. It was actually not as bad as what I thought it was going to be.
Because the trailer's kind of big.
Trailer's massive.
Yeah.
It's tall. It's long. During the day, though, the truck that I was driving, a big Ford with like extendable mirrors, I could see the end of it. Like I was good. Everything was good driving that thing.
Now, for those that don't know, my day job is I'm in transportation. So I deal with a lot of trucks and 53 footer, 18 wheelers, right? So like I've always noticed, and I like talk to these guys, and I'm like, how is it driving? They're like, it's really easy. They're like, as long as you have your mirrors and you pay attention to your mirrors and know kind of where your vehicle is at, you're fine.
It really is. Like, it was really true.
It seemed like that was the case.
It really was. Basically just making sure when you merge, remember you have the trailer to also merge with you.
Did you run into scares there? Or
one time.
We just get it one time.
Well, Steve, no, we didn't run into
those
scares
right?
at
all. No.
No, we definitely did not run into those scares. But it was fun, man. It was a great trip. We went down with Steve's buddy Don, who's been like a long lifetime friend. So he went down with us. It was a blast. We stopped in Charlotte as kind of like our layover during the day, hung out, got dinner in Charlotte, and then kind of slept in, and then went down to Georgia midday on Sunday. Kicked it around Georgia for a little bit, make sure the trailer was all fueled up, and then barely got any sleep because I was like prepping. I was like, all right, is all the podcast stuff going to work? We've got a new like mixer that we've got into a PA system. We thought we might do some like live podcast out there. So we weren't sure what the day was going to look like because we knew the weather was going to be iffy. And when we got up on Monday morning, the weather was just horrendous. For anyone who doesn't know, the reason they were down there, like I said, Boston Scott was sponsoring an event with the Jimmy V Foundation, the Kelly Obarski 7th Annual Memorial Golf Tournament. Goes all the proceeds, like the silent auction, the foursomes, entry fees, they all went to cancer research. So really incredible event to be a part of. We had to move the entire mobile showroom indoors because it was raining that hard in the morning. They could not set up that mobile showroom. It was just, the wind was blowing. It was anytime we opened the door, it was blowing in. So luckily Eastlake was just an incredible host, helped us get all the merch inside to like help them set up. And then the golfers went out in the pouring down rain. I've got some hilarious photos, which again, if you guys are watching on our YouTube, we'll pop them up here in a second, but one hole in, Steve Hoffman, founder of Boston Scott, and Chris Agler and a couple other guys were walking up down the 18th and then up to 1. And they walked by the pro shop that we were still sitting in. They were drenched. I mean, no good rain gear was good enough for as hard as it was raining out there. I felt so bad for them. No carts out at Eastlake. It's a full staffed caddy golf course. The only carts they have are the quote unquote staff carts, which stay on the pavement. There are no carts on the grounds other than like the grounds crew. So that was the other cool part of it. They have a fully staffed caddy program, over 80 caddies on staff at all times. So that's one of the coolest things for a private club that's just got 18 holes. That's a lot of caddies. Like when you think of a caddy barn that big, you think of like Pinehurst or somewhere that's got multiple golf courses. It was really cool to hear that that was how many caddies they had for just one golf course.
That's insane. I mean, you even sent me kind of like overhead footage of, I saw the rain pics and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I kind of like saw like kind of almost like a drone shot of the course itself, and just how immaculate that course looked with that weather you had just blew my mind. I mean, I was like, this doesn't even look real.
So when we were pulling in at like 8 a.m., the grounds crew was already out there. You could tell they, were still doing their thing, doing what they needed to do in the pouring down rain. And now, like I said, no golf carts out there. A lot of these guys were like walk mowing fairways, walk mowing approaches. They were, it was incredible. The effort that was going out there in the pouring down rain, because they knew they had an event. So a lot of fun out there, man. The weather finally cleared about noon, 1 o'clock. The rain stopped. The sun even came out a little bit. So we were able to open up the mobile showroom. I got to sit down with the director of golf down there for about 20 minutes. So that podcast will be coming out most likely not in podcast form. It'll actually be coming out just on our YouTube and IG and Twitter. We'll mostly keep that video content to kind of be like an exclusive release for you guys, since it's only about 20 minutes. But we did that from inside the Boston Scott trailer. A lot of great people there, a lot of great connections to be able to be made. Unfortunately, it was just such a like hoopla day that a lot of the people that like I wanted to sit down with, the caddy program director, he was kind of just way in over his head managing 125 golfers and all their caddies. So he was just in over his head busy. Unfortunately, couldn't get to sit down with him. Tim Burke, long drive like specialist, was there. We got to talk to him for a good bit. And I think, he wants to come on the show, which is really cool. So just a lot of cool experiences around Eastlake. The place, like the shop, the clubhouse, the dining room, everything at Eastlake, you could tell has just been around forever. Like the memorabilia in that place, there's an old Ryder Cup in there in the captain's room. There's all kinds of Arnold Palmer memorabilia down there. Obviously, Bobby Jones stuff down there because it's the house that Bobby Jones built. It's just incredible to witness a lot of this old memorabilia that just, has been sitting there since like the beginning of time at Eastlake.
That's insane. And it's crazy. Like, these courses that have that type of history, just, you're looking at it just blows my mind. That some of these courses and the history that they have. And like you were saying, like you're showing little snaps to me of just kind of like all like the old equipment that's in, showcases, and the history with Bobby Jones and Arnold Palmer. I mean, holy smokes. I mean, it just, I'm shocked that like you were able to like kind of like, were you able to like freelance around there, or were they kind of like, because you were telling me they had some high security around there.
So once we got inside of the gates and they realized like, oh, hey, you're meant to be here. They were very welcoming, very hospitable. Got to go up and walk in the locker rooms and kind of walk around there. And just, I mean, I wouldn't say quote unquote free reign of the place, because like, obviously there's places you just can't go, where staff only and stuff like that. But yeah, we were able to walk around the captain's room. We were able to walk around just kind of like their back foyer area, which had a lot of hanging memorabilia out front. There was a plaque of Robert Trent Jones, Bobby Jones Jr. Hanging out front, just kind of saying this is the place that he built. Like I said, old Ryder Cup was in there. just all kinds of just crazy cool stuff. Like some things you expected to be there, some things you didn't expect to be there. Sitting right outside of the entrance was like Bobby Jones's old typewriter, and like his ink quill pen that he used to write all of his hand letter notes from. So just like really cool stuff like that. They say they always leave the lamp on at his desk just to kind of always like pay homage to like Bobby Jones is always here, which I thought was like a really cool, just simple yet subtle, but incredibly cool nod to the great Bobby Jones. So
that's awesome, man.
Yeah. And we got to set the trailer right out in front of Eastlake. So like what better place to just kind of hang out than in the front parking lot of Eastlake?
Yeah. Right. So I guess you were saying like the second half of the day, you were actually able to utilize what the trailer is meant to be with the kick out. Cause there's like, aren't there like kind of like couches with it that come with it? Kind of, it's like,
yeah. So they're like indoor outdoor chairs that set up in any configuration you really want it to. And for anyone who hasn't seen the Boston Scott golf trailer, I would say stay tuned on their Instagram, stay tuned on their website, because they'll make announcements as to where they're taking it. It is new this year. They just got done building it out and kind of premiering it at their ribbon cutting in the spring, I believe, is when their ribbon cutting was. So this trailer is fully equipped, man. Obviously, it's got all their merchandise in it, from their shirts, their hats, their belts, their pants. But then when it does fold out fully, it's got this like kind of back patio feel that you can kind of kick it back. You can step up onto it, sit down, have a drink, just hang out. It's like a great hangout spot. I don't know what other way to describe it other than just kind of back patio. But it's got a TV in it that we had the Golf Channel running all day too. So it's just great vibes out of the Boston Scott trailer, and, gracious enough that they lent us a little corner of the trailer to do some live podcasting from. And I hope, greater things can come of that down the road, because they love us. We love them. So we're excited to see what we can do together.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's pretty cool that you're able to do that. Yeah, I mean, I'm very looking forward to the future of what they have in store. So, that thing looked sick.
It was one of those things where everyone who walked up to it or walked around it was like, whoa, what is this? I got to see. It like makes you stop and look, right? So it was one of those experiences that was just, it was one for the books. It was one that, like, if you'd have told me months ago that, hey, you're going to go help run an event down at Eastlake, and you're going to, be able to just kind of hang out with people that play Eastlake on a daily basis, and not just be there to watch the Tour Championship, but like actually just be inside the gates and inside the clubhouse at Eastlake, I'd have called you nuts. So really cool experience. Excited to kind of, roll out a lot of the content from around Eastlake as we move through the week here. But yeah, man, it was just so much fun. Really cool experience. I will say Atlanta, Georgia, really, really cool spot. I want to get down and play some golf around Atlanta.
Yes. I'll be there.
Set it in stone. I love it, man. Well, guys, as we said, as always, you can go to www.enjoythewalkpod.com to check out the latest from us, whether it's podcasts, whether it's blogs, or just the latest merch drops. So stay tuned for that. We've got a special episode dropping this Friday. So if you've made it this far, we'll make some more announcements on Twitter and Instagram as we get towards the release, but it will be a podcast and it will be in YouTube form as well. We have a second half, I guess you could call it, to Ryan Gabel's podcast that we recorded for the Alternate Golf podcast. With this show that includes a detailed round with number 45 with the President of the United States, Donald Trump. Ryan is a current club champion out at Trump Hudson Valley, and he got to tee it up with the president. So he details some funny encounters with Secret Service. He details his back and forth match with the president, where he made him putt it out, unlike the guys at the Ryder Cup. I wonder if there was any that was inside the leather jokes. We'll have to you have to tune in and find out. But really, really cool sit down to kind of just recap his experience playing with the president of the United States, and just how you might be surprised, how he might just be one of the guys. So excited to roll out that episode on Friday, guys. Hope you guys tune in. But is that it from us, Dante? Is that all the recap we can fit into one episode?
I think it is. So much information, just so much experiences. I mean, Eastlake, member guest, Ryder Cup. I mean, what more can you get?
I don't know. I went through 2 cups of water. I'm parched. It's a lot of talking.
Yes.
I think that's it from us this week.
Think so. I need a snack. I'm starving.
I love it. As always, guys, get out there, carry your clubs, and enjoy the walk.
That's the stuff. One shot at a time.